Chapter 430. Almsgiver, you can't do that. Yuan Fong was shocked when he heard that Earth was going to imprison him. Although his physical body was incomparably strong, he was still unable to resist being placed under house arrest. Why? Are you afraid too? Looking at Yuan Fong's current state, a smile appeared on Earth's haggard face. He could not help but ask, Almsgiver Earth, I think you should just kill me. Yuan Fong tried to persuade him. I know you're not afraid of death. I also know that you have the ability to resurrect and damage feedback, so I won't kill you. Earth Yao grinned and threw Yuan Fong to the ground. Then, he said to the soldiers around him, Let's go. Then, he said to the soldiers around him, Bring him to the prison camp and imprison him. Hearing Earth's order, 2 guards immediately stepped forward and picked Yuan Fong up from the ground, dragging him to the back of the camp. Brilliant Earth benefactor, I don't agree. I'm here to get beaten up, not to be imprisoned. Yuan Fong immediately started shouting. Looking at Yuan Fong, who was gradually getting further away, Earth could not help but spit. However, his tense nerves finally relaxed at this moment. He felt that he was too tired for the past week. This kind of exhaustion did not come from his body, but from his spirit. He felt that the bald man had almost destroyed his spirit. He was too difficult to deal with. Fortunately, he was finally free now that he had been brought to the prison. Thinking of this, a rare smile appeared on Earth's face. Behind the sinkhole in the mansion of the dead, the military prison grounds. This prison grounds was a tradition of the 9 Yao army. It was set up to interrogate and imprison enemies. However, in Beiki they could not catch the prisoners they wanted, so the prison grounds were basically idle. It was already nighttime. A bonfire was burning in the prison grounds, and a hunchbacked old man in the 9 Yao army's uniform was sitting in front of the bonfire in a daze. At this moment, 2 guards arrived with Yuan Fong. However, the 2 guards did not say anything to the old man in front of the bonfire. Instead, they drove Yuan Fong to a prison, opened the door, and threw him in. Almsgiver, don't do this. Yuan Fong fell to the ground and quickly stood up, trying to persuade him. Why don't you continue to resurrect? Looking at Yuan Fong, the 2 guards smiled at each other and turned to leave. But when he passed by the old man, a guard suddenly said, You're right. Old demon, don't blame us for not warning you, don't touch him. After saying that, the 2 of them quickly left. When the old man heard that, he slowly opened his murky eyes and looked at Yuan Fong. He could not help but chuckle. Open the door, I want to go out. Realizing that he was really imprisoned, Yuan Fong couldn't help but panic. After playing Battle Online for more than a week, he knew that if he did not die, he would still be here when he respawned. Thinking of this, he clenched his fists and smashed them against the iron bars of the prison. Bang! 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 After a seemingly ferocious punch, Yuan Fong retracted his powerless little fist and quietly squatted down. His fatal weakness was completely unharmed. After a moment of silence, Yuan Fong suddenly turned around and rammed his head against the wall of the cell. Boom! At this moment, the game notification rang. Game notification. Damage is less than 500 points, damage negated. As this damage is caused by the player himself, damage feedback cannot be applied. At this moment, Yuan Fong felt like shutting himself up. He felt like he was going to die. Little Baldy, you want to come out? At this moment, the old man sitting in front of the bonfire grinned, revealing his charred brown teeth. Old almsgiver, are you going to let me out? Yuan Fong was suddenly energized. No, I just want to torture you. The old man said this calmly, but he could not suppress the excitement in his eyes. Naturally, there was a reason why the guards here called him the old demon. Because he liked to torture prisoners, he even researched 72 types of extremely painful torture methods, which was how he got the name Old Demon. However, since he was sent to Beiki recently, there were no prisoners for him to torture. During this period of time, the old demon felt like he was suffocating. Although the guards warned him before they left, the old demon did not care. Even if he had to be punished, he would accept it. Torturing prisoners was his hobby. Since he only had half a life left, it did not matter even if he died. Thinking of this, the old demon stood up and walked to the front of the prison. He looked at Yuan Fong and began to examine him. Soft skin and tender flesh, you shouldn't be able to withstand much torture. Let's start with the lightest torture, hee. The old demon said with a satisfied expression. Yuan Fong was stunned. He did not expect the old demon to torture him. Instantly, the fear in his heart faded. As someone with thick skin and flesh, he was never afraid of being beaten, let alone being tortured. He was only afraid of being put under house arrest. The more violent the storm, the better. Thinking of this, Yuan Fong could not help but ask, "Old almsgiver, are you really going to torture me?" "That's right. Are you afraid?" The old demon grinned, waiting for the fear to appear on Yuan Fong's face. "Ugh, almsgiver, to be honest, not only am I not afraid, I'm actually looking forward to it. After all, it will increase my proficiency," Yuan Fong answered honestly. Hearing this, the old demon's expression froze. When he tortured prisoners, he looked forward to their wails, screams, and expressions of despair. Yuan Fong's words made him extremely angry. "Little Baldy, I hope you can still say these words later." The old demon stared at him fiercely. After saying that, he turned around and left. A moment later, when the old demon returned again, there was a black rope in his hand, and there were many strange-looking tools hanging on his body. When he arrived at the cell door again, the old demon threw the rope at Yuan Fong. The black rope shook rapidly like a snake and quickly wrapped around Yuan Fong's body. It connected his limbs to the iron pillars around the cell, binding him tightly and suspending him half a meter above the ground. "What are you doing?" Yuan Fong asked curiously. "Hee, you will know in a moment. Remember to scream louder to make me happy." After saying that, the old demon took out a bunch of keys from his waist, opened the cell door, and walked in. When he came to Tyrant's side, the old demon grinned and lowered his head, scanning the tools hanging on his body as if he was making a choice. In the end, the old demon picked a tool that looked like a pair of pliers and removed it. Click, click. After trying to clamp it together, the old demon nodded in satisfaction. "Are you afraid now?" the old demon asked again. "I'm fine. I just feel that this thing doesn't have much power. Why don't you let Earthen torture me?" Tyrant said seriously. "Humph, I've tortured many criminals like you. Unfortunately, they all knelt and begged me for mercy in the end. Unfortunately, I didn't let any of them go. Ha!" Thinking of the past, the old demon couldn't help but grin, his face full of pride. However, Yuan Fong looked bored and said perfunctorily, all right. As long as you're happy, almsgiver." Yuan Fong's attitude really annoyed the old demon. He immediately raised the pliers, used his left hand to pry open Tyrant's mouth, and used the pliers to clamp one of his front teeth. "Little Baldy, then I'll pull out all your teeth first. You better not be unable to withstand this little pain." As he said that, the old demon couldn't help but get excited, and he exerted force in his hand. Crack! Woo woo woo! At that moment, the old demon suddenly let go of the pliers and covered his mouth. However, blood still dripped through the gaps between his fingers. The old demon whimpered in pain, then slowly opened his hand. Suddenly, he found a burnt front tooth lying in the middle of his palm. Yuan Fong was not surprised by this at all. After all, using this kind of tool to pull out teeth naturally wouldn't cause 500 damage. If it couldn't even break through his defense, how could the tooth be pulled out? Looking at the familiarity level, Yuan Fong immediately said with a bored expression, "Almsgiver, are you all right?" "Woo woo woo." "Ah woo woo." The old demon raised his head in horror, revealing a row of teeth that were missing front teeth. He looked extremely miserable. What's going on? How did you do it?" "Almsgiver, I don't know. Do you want to try again?" tyrant immediately denied. Little Baldy, don't think I can't deal with you. The old demon glared at Yuan Fong angrily, as if his eyes were about to spit fire. He picked up the pliers from the ground again, then reached out and clamped Yuan Fong's index fingernail. Break! The old demon screamed again. His index fingernail fell off, and blood splattered everywhere. Seeing this scene, Yuan Fong's expression was calm. After thinking for a while, he suddenly screamed. "Ah, it hurts, it hurts." In order to let the old demon continue to torture him, Yuan Fong decided to use his ability to act pitiful. Yuan Fong was very familiar with screaming. After all, he had practiced it before. His voice directly covered the old demon's. The old demon's body trembled as he looked at his broken fingernail. When he looked at Yuan Fong again, his expression became extremely horrified. "It hurts, it hurts." Yuan Fong continued to scream. After a while, when he realized that there was no movement around him, Yuan Fong immediately stopped screaming. He turned around and saw that the prison door was already closed. The old demon was standing outside, looking at him with a face full of resentment. Old almsgiver, you're not going to continue?" Yuan Fong asked expectantly. The old demon did not speak. He covered his hand and stared at Yuan Fong, making Yuan Fong feel a little embarrassed. "Old almsgiver, it was an accident just now. I'm very afraid of pain. Why don't you try again?" Yuan Fong said as if he thought it was okay. "Little Baldy, do you really think I can't do anything to you?" the old demon said fiercely. "Oh, Amitabha, Buddha bless you!" Yuan Fong immediately chanted. After glaring at Yuan Fong again, the old demon turned around and left. When he returned after a while, his injured finger had already formed a scab. There was a layer of green powder on it, and the smell of medicine wafted in the air. "Old almsgiver, are you okay?" Yuan Fong asked immediately. "Little Baldy, look what I've brought you." As he spoke, the old demon took out a can. After opening the lid, it immediately revealed densely packed poisonous insects that were wriggling. Yuan Fong could not help but be stunned when he saw what was inside the can. These poisonous insects are carefully cultivated by me. Although their toxicity is not strong, they will definitely make you wish you were dead." As he spoke, a look of resentment appeared on the old demon's face. Hearing this, Yuan Fong's expression became strange. After thinking for a while, he said, "Old almsgiver, Buddha will really bless you this time," Yuan Fong said sincerely. Chapter 431. Seeing that there was still no fear on Yuan Fong's face, the old demon could not help but snort coldly. "I know you've mastered some kind of damage transfer ability, but this time, you'll have to enjoy it." Saying that, the old demon took out a key, opened the cell door again, and walked in. Coming to Yuan Fong's side, the old demon stretched out his hand and pried open Yuan Fong's mouth. Then, he took out a bug that looked like a centipede and stuffed it into Yuan Fong's mouth with a grim smile. One by one, the old demon stuffed more than 10 of them into Yuan Fong's mouth before he stopped. To prevent Yuan Fong from crushing the poisonous bug with his teeth, the old demon used his fingers to clamp Yuan Fong's teeth until the poisonous bug drilled into Yuan Fong's throat. Ugh! Yuan Fong's face showed a constipated expression after the poisonous bug entered his stomach, because it was not delicious at all. As for whether the centipede could hurt him, Yuan Fong was not worried at all. After all, he cultivated both his internal and external body, so why would he be afraid of a mere poisonous bug? It was the smell of the bug that made Yuan Fong feel disgusted. Seeing that Yuan Fong's expression had become extremely bad, the old demon could not help but grin. "No matter how strong your body is, your internal organs are not capable of this. Let me tell you, this poisonous bug will drill into your stomach, but it will not be digested. Instead, it will gnaw at your body's organs bit by bit and inject venom into your blood vessels. When the venom flows into your heart, tsk, that taste is really wonderful," the old demon said with an intoxicated expression. Yuan Fang listened to the old demon's boast with a bored expression. From Yuan Fang's point of view, the poisonous bug might have already been in his stomach and killed by itself. In fact, what the old demon did not say was that this poisonous bug was not an ordinary poisonous bug. Instead, it was a life-sucking bug that he had cultivated with his own blood essence. This bug was connected to his bloodline, and its main function was not to torture people, but to devour their vitality and blood essence to nourish himself. The old demon had long reached the age where he should have died. The reason why he was still alive was because of the help of this poisonous bug. He would not tell anyone about this because it was his biggest secret. More importantly, as long as he did not say it out loud, everyone would think that he only liked to torture mortals. They would not know that he was always stealing the life essence of prisoners. At this moment, the old demon calmed his heart and began to wait for the poisonous insects to start devouring him. He was also looking forward to the feedback from the life essence. However, what surprised him was that the feedback from the poisonous insects should have appeared long ago if it was in the past. Why didn't it come this time? This made the old demon a little anxious. He looked at Yuan Fang and could not help but say, "Don't you feel anything?" When Yuan Fang heard that, he replied with a constipated expression, "Yes, it's quite disgusting. I feel like vomiting." Hearing this, the old demon was stunned. He raised his hand angrily and was about to slap Yuan Fang's face, but he didn't have the courage to do so. At this time, the venomous bug's feedback suddenly appeared. A pale green, almost transparent thread extended from Yuan Fang's chest and connected to the left side of the old demon's chest where his heart was. At this moment, the old demon's face revealed an expression of surprise. This was because he knew that the poisonous insect's life-devour ability had been activated, and he would soon be able to absorb a large amount of life force. Looking at the stunned Yuan Fang, the old demon smiled sinisterly. "Little Baldy, be obedient and enjoy it. If it hurts, remember to shout louder." Yuan Fang nodded obediently. Suddenly, a scream was heard. However, it wasn't Yuan Fang who screamed. It was the old demon. His body trembled and suddenly fell to the ground, curled up, and began to twitch. Bit by bit, life essence was extracted from the old demon's body and entered Yuan Fang's body through the green string. The poisonous insect's life-devour ability was currently negated by the monk's immeasurable body, because the damage was less than 500 points. However, the 15% feedback began to extract life force from the old demon's body, and then through the green string, the life force entered Yuan Fang's body bit by bit. At this moment, the game notifications kept ringing in Yuan Fang's ears. Game notification: you have received 10 EXP points. Game notification: you have received 10 EXP points. Game notification: you have received 10 EXP points. All the life force was automatically converted into EXP points by the artifact and fed back to Yuan Fang. At this moment, Yuan Fang couldn't help but be dumbfounded. What's going on? Can being bitten by poisonous insects give me EXP? Oh my god! Buddha bless me! Soon, Yuan Fang leveled up under the old demon's transfer of life force. Game notification: you have received 10 EXP points. Your experience bar is full. You have successfully leveled up to level 9. Game notification: leveling up reward: HP plus 48, Yendi plus 1, STR plus 1. Happiness came so suddenly that Yuan Fang was caught off guard. Leveling up was already a huge problem for Yuan Fang. After all, he couldn't kill monsters at all. So, at this moment, the increasing EXP points were a blessing from the heavens to Yuan Fang. It was the blessing of Buddha. Looking at the old demon on the ground wailing, Yuan Fang couldn't help but mutter, "Oh, Ba." He originally thought that the poisonous insects would be killed by the backlash, but he didn't expect this to happen. This also made Yuan Fang realize that this change was definitely the old demon taking something from him. Unfortunately, the old demon had encountered Yuan Fang, who had the Moke's immeasurable body. Arg! What the hell is going on? How is this possible? The old demon fell to the ground and twitched. His eyes were wide open, as if he was suffering from some inhuman torture. Quick! Spit out the poisonous insects, quick! Under extreme pain, the old demon's hair was disheveled, and he kept wailing. However, Yuan Fong didn't care at all, nor did he sympathize with him. In his opinion, the old demon deserved it. At this moment, he was immersed in the joy of continuously increasing his EXP point. Not to mention the fact that he couldn't spit it out, even if he could, he wouldn't be willing to. As his life force flowed away, the old demon was horrified to find that there were more and more wrinkles on his palms. He subconsciously touched his cheeks and suddenly found that his face was already full of wrinkles. Spit it out quick, I beg you. The old demon wailed like a madman. He struggled to stand up. However, before he could stand up, he staggered and fell to the ground. He began to twitch again and even foamed at the mouth. This kind of pain should have been borne by Yuan Fong, but at this moment it was being fed back to the old demon. Every time the poisonous insect bit Yuan Fong, part of the damage would be transferred to the old demon's body. Then, it would absorb the old demon's life force and feed it back to Yuan Fong. The moment the bad cycle started, the old demon's fate was already sealed. At this moment, the old demon was in extreme pain. He screamed and wailed crazily, trying his best to resist the devouring pain. However, it was all in vain. Under such extreme pain, the old demon even had thoughts of suicide. However, the pain came wave after wave, and his body couldn't stop trembling. Even if he wanted to commit suicide, he couldn't do it. He could only twitch his body along with the pain. His life force flowed away bit by bit. At this moment, Yuan Fong had risen to level 15, but the old demon had become extremely old. His long gray hair had turned white, and there was no trace of blood on his pale face. He was so old that he didn't look like he had aged at all. Oh, Amitabha! Seeing this, Yuan Fong couldn't help but sigh. Good and evil will always be rewarded. Old benefactor, you like to abuse others, but you never thought that you would end your life in this way, right? Sigh. At this moment, the old demon had stopped struggling. His mouth was full of white saliva, and his body twitched occasionally as if it was a conditioned reflex. He looked extremely miserable. Even before he died, the old demon's eyes were still wide open. He knew that he was going to die, and he had guessed countless ways of dying. However, he never thought that he would end his life in this way. He used the venomous insect torture that he had invented himself. At the moment of death, he felt the extreme pain that the prisoners had experienced. That feeling was like he was in purgatory, and it was unbearable. At this moment, he suddenly regretted and felt that he shouldn't have invented such a thing. However, it was all too late. As a large amount of life force flowed away, the old demon's pain finally ended. When the last wisp of life force flowed out, his eyes gradually dimmed. Game notification. You killed the target ghost goat by means of damage feedback. Obtained 1 experience point, 0 soul coins. The moment he received the game notification, Yuan Fong was dumbfounded. Why was there only 1 experience point? And no soul coins? Yuan Fong was dumbfounded. He thought that after killing the target, he would get a lot of experience points, but he didn't expect that there would be nothing. However, what Yuan Fong didn't know was that the experience points on the ghost goat had already been absorbed by him through the feedback. The artifact couldn't produce experience points and soul coins out of thin air, so he didn't get the reward when he killed the target. However, Yuan Fong didn't know this, so he felt very sad. He even suspected that it was because of Mo Kuwolyang that he had lost all the experience points he had gained. Thinking of this, Yuan Fong felt depressed. Mo Kuwolyang was powerful, but he had too many restrictions. Buddha, do you not love Yuan Fong anymore? Yuan Fong's willpower was slowly sinking. At this moment, the game notification rang again. Game notification. You killed life-sucking bug by means of damage feedback. Obtained plus 29 experience points, plus 1 soul coin. Game notification. You killed life-sucking bug by means of damage feedback. Obtained plus 29 experience points, plus 1 soul coin. At this moment, following the death of the old demon, the life-sucking bug in Yuan Fang's body didn't have a target for damage feedback. It could only bear all the damage by itself, and finally, it started to die. The game notification rang for more than 10 times, and Yuan Fang was energized once again. This was because he knew that Mo Kuwolyang didn't limit the amount of experience points he could gain. There was hope in his life again, and the Buddha was still protecting him. Looking at the dead old demon, Yuan Fang muttered, "Oh, Amitabha," again and began to struggle, because being suspended in midair made him feel very uncomfortable. However, it was obvious that even though he had leveled up, he still couldn't break free from the rope with his current strength. After a series of weak struggles, Yuan Fang gave up completely. It was late at night and the surroundings were very quiet. Occasionally, the crackling sound of wood burning from the bonfire outside could be heard. Yuan Fang, who was still tied up in midair, started to think about life. At this moment, he suddenly thought that since he could gain a lot of experience points from the old demon, could he take this path in the future? For example, he could find monsters with curse abilities and let them cast a continuous damage curse on him. Then, he could continuously reflect the damage back to the cursed master and kill him. That way, he could gain experience points and soul coins. Thinking of this, Yuan Fang couldn't help but nod. It could work. Chapter 432. All in all, it was an impossible mission for them to save this player from the sinkhole at the Mansion of the Dead. That's right, but there's a big problem now. He's trapped in the sinkhole at the Mansion of the Dead. How are we going to save him? Thinking of this, Guyu clicked on his friend list and began to contact his friends who were cheating on the wall in Baiki. Dream on! The guard glared at him again and walked out of the prison slowly, locking the door. Little by little, he moved toward the food not far away. He looked like he was struggling. But soon, they figured out the reason. Wang Long was speechless. How am I going to get out if I don't starve to death? As time passed, Yuan Fang was getting hungrier and hungrier. Yuan Fang, I think that unity is strength. A person's life is too monotonous after all. Besides, my master always said that the true meaning of Buddhism can only be found in the hustle and bustle of the world. The meaning of ascetic cultivation is to blend into life and step into the mundane world. So, I suddenly feel that it's better to join a guild. This is really good, the dog was speechless. Because they were going to face an army, not just Earth alone. Besides, he was not sure if there were any other brothers from the 9 luminaries in the sinkhole at the Mansion of the Dead. Guyu, who looked helpless at first, was shocked when he heard that. But after thinking about it carefully, he felt that it was very feasible. The members of the wall-hanging team were all at least at the Ghost Commander level, and they had even killed Jin Yao when they joined forces. If they attacked together and snuck in instead of fighting head-on, they would indeed be able to deal a huge amount of damage. Wang Long, little monk, where are you? I told you recently that many guilds want you to join them. Have you thought about it? Are there any guilds that you like? Facing the little baldy that even the great Lord Earth was helpless against, torturing him was undoubtedly a suicide mission. Looking at the food on the ground, Yuan Fang suddenly felt hungry. Wang Long, Earth's strength is at the beginner level of a Ghost King. Although he's the weakest among his brothers, I can't defeat him. I can't save you, helpless JPG. After all, the guild members now had a long-range shooter, Mo Lingtian, and a healer dog. It was already very complete. They only lacked a frontline meat shield. This problem really troubled Yuan Fang. After all, he didn't have much strength, so it was unrealistic for him to force his way out. However, in Yuan Fang's opinion, it was still a rare delicacy, and he was just about to eat it when his expression suddenly froze. Yuan Fang fell to the ground. Don't even think about it. I don't even know where the demonic god went. Also, I'm not his disciple. He didn't acknowledge me as his disciple. He only gave me the inheritance. It should not be difficult to save the monk. It was a very uncomfortable feeling. He felt that even the most vicious beating he had suffered was not as painful as starvation. Lu Chai, Hu He, Niefeng, Murphy, Little Pomelo's family, Aojian, Qi Ming, and so on. To be honest, even if he mobilized the entire guild's strength, he still wouldn't be able to enter that place. After reading the content of the message, Gu Yu's face lit up. Just as Yuan Fang approached the food and was about to take a bite, his friend list suddenly popped up, and Wang Long's profile picture jumped. After struggling with his thoughts for a while, Yuan Fang put down the food with a pained look on his face. He then shrunk into a corner and sat cross-legged on the ground. He was prepared to starve himself to death and escape from this place. Trying to run? The guard couldn't help but say. But he was really hungry and wanted to eat. Eat! Upon hearing this, Yuan Fang suddenly opened his eyes, which were shining brightly. After a while, Yuan Fang stopped meditating. He felt that it was too painful. The wall-hanging squad. If we ask our brothers for help, they will definitely agree. We don't need a large-scale attack, as it will attract too much firepower. We just need to be elites and find a dark and windy night to sneak in together. The dog said excitedly. Wang Chao, the leader of the Myth Guild, is a tycoon. He has a lot of spiritual materials in his hands. I heard that he has been doing sea trading recently and has earned a lot of spiritual materials. If you join him, you might be able to eat food made of spiritual materials every day. He came here to cultivate, to comprehend the great way of Buddhism, not to go to jail. Golden-rimmed cabbage, tofu with tofu, dried tofu, braised eggplant with dried vegetables, stir-fried potatoes with mushrooms. Boss, can't he kill himself and get out? The dog asked curiously. Should I just take a bite? Should I just take a bite? Yuan Fang thought in grief and indignation. What's the solution? Gu Yu, who was also thinking, raised his head helplessly when his train of thought was interrupted. After a while, he clapped his claws again. I want to. Yuan Fang answered very honestly. The next morning, the guards arrived. Nonsense. Do you want me to feed you? The guard could not help but glare at him. He then swung his sword a few times and cut the black rope that was entangled around Yuan Fang. Obviously, he had targeted the wrong person this time. Of course, there was also the very important wall hanger, Yi Chen. Although they could not kill Yuan Fang with force, it was very easy for them to put him under house arrest. At this moment, they could see that this Baldy had no combat ability at all. He only had amazing defense and the terrifying ability to transfer damage. It was very easy to subdue him. It was the first time in his life that he had encountered such a difficult choice. Every choice was so heartbreaking. Yuan Fang felt that he was troubled. Seeing this, Yuan Fang could not help but be stunned, but he still opened the chat box. Although food was provided every day, how was he going to get out? He was able to endure the pain of the damage feedback and was willing to do it until he died. He could not help but admire him. So the problem now is how to get him out. This is also the condition for him to join our guild. Unfortunately, we are obviously not strong enough. Unless all the Beiki players are willing to help us and launch another wave of attacks, we can take advantage of the chaos to rescue the monk. Wang Long, oh right, why don't you join the Myth Guild? Their guild is very strong. If you are their member, they will definitely find a way to save you. Boss, why are you smiling and frowning? Is the demonic god's power acting up? The dog asked in a muffled voice with dried fish in his mouth. Rubbing his arm, Yuan Fang subconsciously looked outside the prison cell. Due to Yuan Fang's physique, although the spiritual energy in the underworld could replenish his body and prevent him from getting hungry easily, the consumption was still huge. The only thing it could do was delay the process. Wang Chao, then I'll help you contact them. Wait a moment, almsgiver, please release me. I don't need to be fed, Yuan Fong said solemnly. Upon hearing this, the dog rested his chin on one hand and looked like he was in deep thought, because he suddenly remembered that he might really have to stay in prison forever. The dog suddenly realized how difficult it would be to rescue him. A moment later, Gu Yu, who had just finished exchanging spiritual materials with the Bolu clan in the Void Ocean, received a message from Wang Chao. In order to alleviate his hunger, he could only suck in air. However, what surprised them was how the old devil could torture him to death. The little baldy who gave them a headache was currently tied up in midair while the prison guard, the old devil, was lying on the ground with white foam coming out of his mouth. Yuan Fong, this isn't a good idea. Actually, I just want to be free and unfettered. I never thought of joining any guild. But I still want to eat. The food smells so good. However, when he saw Wang Chao's message saying that this player was trapped in the pit of the dead, Gu Yu could not help but frown. Yuan Fong, almsgiver Wang Long, I've been imprisoned by the Earth Lord and can't get out. Let's talk about joining the guild after I get out. I can only choose one of the two. What a painful choice. Yuan Fong, it's a long story. I wanted to train my supernatural power with almsgiver Earth, but he cheated, therefore they were indifferent when they faced Yuan Fong. They were not worried that he would escape. They used to think that he was a pervert, but now that they thought about it, he was not only cruel to prisoners but also to himself. However, the aroma did not quench his hunger. Instead, it intensified his hunger. However, when they saw the situation in the prison, they could not help but be shocked. To eat or not to eat, food and freedom. At this moment, the Bakey wall cheaters were ready to assemble. Yuan Fong immediately turned to face the wall and began to meditate to reduce his pain. At this moment, Yuan Fong was struggling with his thoughts. Yuan Fong, almsgiver, I'll figure it out myself. There's no need to trouble you. After the two guards left, Yuan Fong was overjoyed. He sat on the ground with his legs crossed and picked up the plate on the ground, ready to eat. Little Baldy, time to eat. At this moment, the old devil's face was gray. It was obvious that he was dead. The food provided by the guards was very simple. Naturally, they could not provide food made of spiritual ingredient. It was just some coarse rations made of ordinary ingredient. Oh right, boss, why don't you ask the demonic god for help? You're his disciple. The dog clapped his paw as an idea came to him. I asked him, but he won't kill himself. Gu Yu looked helpless. At this moment, the two guards sincerely admired the old devil. They felt that he was a real man. They were very familiar with the old devil. His greatest pleasure was to torture prisoners and enjoy the despair and screams of the prisoners when they were in pain. Upon hearing this, Gu Yu glared at the dog. Then, he shared his chat with Wang Long in the team chat box. Wang Chao was speechless. Can't he feel the pain feedback? Can't he just stop? D*MN, is that bald monk going to join our guild? Go Z's eyes widened and he was so shocked that he dropped his dried fish. At this moment, Gu Yu was sincerely happy. Wang Long, how did you get imprisoned by almsgiver Earth? Therefore, he looked at the food on the plate again and thought, should I starve to death? With a sigh, the two guards walked into the cell. One of them grabbed the old devil's legs and began to drag his body out. The other guard put the food on the ground and patted Yuan Fong's cheek. After some communication, other than Hu He and Ye Feng, who said that they were in the land of Tsangshu and could not return for the time being, the other friends agreed to Gu Yu's request. Boss, it's still too early for the festival. The stupid officials don't have any activities. Now, the players are developing on their own. Why would they go to the crater of the dead to save people with us? The dog shrugged helplessly. Moreover, the aroma of the food that was placed not far away lingered in Yuan Fang's nose, making him hungrier. Yuan Fang felt that he was going bald from all the worry. "Boss, I have an idea." He did not expect this super newcomer to be willing to join his guild. This would undoubtedly increase the strength of their guild. Chapter 433. After contacting his friends on the wall and several guild leaders, Guyu finally had some confidence in rescuing the little monk. Guyu had no doubt about the strength of these friends. Their strength was not only reflected in the inheritance they obtained, but also in their personal qualities. This was just like Ao Jian, Qi Ming, and the others. The same inheritance in the hands of other players could never be compared to the power displayed in their hand. After contacting them, Guyu called the dog and Mo Lingtian, and the three of them set off to Bakie's Liuli coast by ship. Although there were actually many outstanding players in the guild, since they decided to act in the form of a wall team this time, they naturally did not bring these people along. In Guyu's opinion, it was easier to be exposed with more people. After a few hours of sailing, they arrived at Liuli coast. At this time, there were already several people waiting on the coast. They were Murphy and little Pomelo's family, Yi Chen and Yi Shuer. Seeing Guyu's arrival, they immediately stopped chatting and turned to look at Guyu, who came down from the legend warship. "Master Gu, what's going on? Are you planning to share some of the spiritual materials that you've earned from the sea trade?" Yi Shuer squinted her eyes and smiled. "Little Shuer, you're obviously so rich. How can you ask our boss for spiritual materials? This is free help, free of charge," the dog said before Guyu could speak. "No matter how rich I am, I'm not as rich as your Master Gu. Alright dog, why don't you join me? Our guild needs a healer." Yi Shuer giggled. "No, my boss is the best." The dog immediately bared his teeth. "Dog, there are many beautiful girls in our guild," Yi Chen teased. Hearing this, the dog's face froze, and then he secretly glanced at Guyu. "Go if you want to go, don't force yourself." Guyu could not help but stare. "No, the dog, value friendship the most. I will never be tempted by beauty," the dog immediately said, as if to prove his firm stand. He raised his paw and slapped the ground angrily. "Master Gu, they're here." At this time, a shout came from afar. Everyone turned their heads and immediately realized that it was Chunziu from the Great Dragon Guild. Behind him were Shueli and Winchim. "Wow, a beauty!" When he saw Feng Ling, Go Zi was so shocked that he stood up. "Hey, big Gu dog, Mo Lingtian." Shueli walked to the front of them with shadow steps and rubbed Dog's head. "Shueli, who is she?" Go Zi pointed at the beautiful Feng Ling and asked expectantly. "Her name is Winchim, and she's the strongest assistant in our Great Dragon Guild. She's just a little bit weaker than you," Shueli teased, using her index finger and thumb to measure the distance. "I don't believe it. Although she is beautiful, I am the strongest." Go Zi couldn't help but place his hands on his waist. Shueli was about to answer when Guyu looked at Chen Ziyu and said, "Boss Chen, where's your Demang?" Chen Ziyu smiled bitterly when he heard that. Demang has been fooling around in the Kuelong Ocean every day, so he won't be participating in this operation. Guyu could not help but nod, but when he looked at Feng Ling, his eyes flashed with curiosity. As Winchim had been staying in the Great Dragon Guild's encampment all this while, everyone present was unfamiliar with her. "Hello everyone, I'm Winchim, a member of the Songster clan of Mu Yi. I'm now a member of the Great Dragon Guild." Winchim bowed slightly in an elegant manner. Her melodious voice, long hair that fluttered in the wind, and a delicate face. At this moment, the scene seemed to freeze, causing Guyu and the others to be slightly dazed. "Chunziyu, I've heard that you have a mistress in your house, but I didn't expect it to be true. I've misjudged you." A rough voice came from afar. The person who came was Lu Chai himself. However, he came alone and did not bring any guild members with him. Guyu and the others were not surprised by this. Although Lu Chai's demolition officers were the strongest guild in Baiki at this stage, their strongest aspect was their number of people and overall strength, which was completely different from the elites of the Myth Guild. Boss Lu, don't joke with me. Why would I do such a thing? Chen Ziyu seemed a little embarrassed. Lu Chai laughed out loud when he heard that, then turned to look at Gu Yu. Boss Gu, you're too unkind. You've tricked this potential newbie into your hands without saying a word, and now you want us to help you save her. Just tell me what kind of compensation you're offering. Gu Yu shrugged helplessly. You're wrong this time. She came to me on her own accord. The Myth Guild has always been open to potential players. As for compensation, I'll definitely not let you come for nothing. I have 30,000 spiritual materials stored in my space, all of them as compensation. Gu Yu said straightforwardly. What the F***ck, you said it so casually after giving away 30,000 spiritual materials. I heard that you've made a lot of money as a sea merchant. It's true. Lu Chai was very surprised. I only wanted to be a free laborer, but it seems like I'll have to fight the tycoons this time. Shueli also chuckled. You're giving me face by coming here, so you should take the compensation. Besides, this mission is not easy. Gu Yu said with a smile. Look, is this what friends should do? Can't you be a little more magnanimous and decline? Then, our boss will also decline symbolically. Then, you guys will persist for a while and finally let our boss say something. Since you're so insistent, then let's do it. That's the way it should be. Sun Chi raised his paw and slammed it on the ground as he bared his teeth. No! Everyone said in unison. Among them, Chiu Chiu's voice was the loudest. Yo, little kid, come and call me uncle. Sun Chi immediately turned his gaze to Chiu Chiu and said with a smile. Uncle Dog, can I ride you? Chiu Chiu immediately trotted to Sun Chi's side and said with a face full of anticipation. Upon hearing this, Sun Chi's expression instantly froze because Chiu Chiu had inadvertently poked the sore spot in his heart. At this moment, Shueli, who was at the side, pulled out her dagger and pointed it forward. She shouted with a solemn expression, Dog Knight, charge and kill! Ha ha ha! Everyone burst into laughter. Sun Chi suddenly felt as if he had received a critical hit of 10,000 points. He could not help but bare his teeth at Shueli and almost pounced on her. I'm late. It's so lively here. At this moment, Qi Ming's figure also appeared not far away, walking over step by step. Old Master Qi Ming, Lu Chai, Gu Yu, and the others immediately turned around to greet him. At this moment, a figure also appeared on the other side. This person carried 9 spiritual swords on his back and looked extremely cool. It was Ao Jian. Old Master Gu, you're late. Ao Jian said with an indifferent expression. We've just arrived too. We're not late, Gu Yu said with a smile. Gu Yu had long been accustomed to Ao Jian's attitude. After all, Ao Jian had been in the Myth Guild for a period of time. He had even contributed a lot during the guild hegemony competition, so he could be considered as an acquaintance. How many people are missing? At this moment, Lu Chai faced Gu Yu and asked. The great demon king and bomber are still in the land of Tsangshu. They can't make it back in time. There was originally a beast-taming master, but his Shao Kuan is not suitable for land battles, so we didn't invite him. By the way, there's also old Master Tang Mu. He can't make it either. Everyone is here now. Lu Chai could not help but nod when he heard that. He then glanced at the people present. Gu Yu, Sun Chi, Mo Lingtian, Yi Chen, Yi Shuer Chenziu, Shueli, Fengling, Murphy and Little Pomelo's family, Ao Jian, Qi Ming, and himself. There were a total of 14 people. In Lu Chai's opinion, such a lineup was already very strong. Now let's make a plan on how to rescue this meat shield, Lu Chai said. Everyone nodded and then found a place to sit by the beach and began to discuss how to rescue the little monk. In the subsequent discussion, Lu Chai was basically the one who came up with the strategy. In this aspect, Lu Chai was more experienced than everyone present. During this period, everyone put forward their own opinions and constantly improved the process of the plan. However, during the process, Murphy and little Pomelo expressed that they would not bring Chioccio to the battle. They wanted to exclude Chioccio from the plan. Regarding this, Chioccio strongly objected, saying that he was already a famous assassin and requested to join the battle. As Chioccio's attitude was extremely firm, persuasion was futile. Therefore, Murphy and little Pomelo could only reward him with a round of mixed doubles before he became obedient. The discussion continued. As the sky gradually darkened, the rescue plan had been formulated. However, everyone did not depart immediately. Instead, they continued to chat. After all, it was better to sneak into the battle in the dead of night. Moreover, everyone was familiar with each other. It was rare for them to get together, so Guyu specially bought a batch of extremely high-quality spiritual food and wood spirit wine from the auction house. After treating everyone to a good meal, they decided to depart. Before they left, Chioccio once again objected, shamelessly and strongly requesting to join the team. Therefore, after receiving another round of filial piety, the team officially set off. 3 hours later. It was already late at night. Although the bonfire in the mansion of the dead's sinkhole was still lit, and the soldiers were still performing their duty as guards, this was the moment when their vigilance was at its lowest. The night breeze was gentle, and in the reflection of the swaying bonfire, a black shadow flashed past. The guard looked in that direction with a strange expression, but after realizing that there was nothing wrong, he turned back again. At this moment, little Pomelo and Murphy had merged into one, using the shadow stealth technique to quickly move toward the coordinates sent by Yuan Fong. The superb stealth technique allowed their movements to be extremely covert, and the guards could not find any trace of them at all. At this moment, in the prison cell, Yuan Fong was lying on the ground weakly, staring at the food on the ground. His heart was still in a state of incomparable struggle. Although he knew that someone would come to rescue him, Wang Long also told him that the other party did not have an absolute guarantee, but only asked him to be prepared. Therefore, Yuan Fong continued to starve, waiting for the rescue, and at the same time making sure that he was safe. That was to starve himself to death. At this moment, a shadow quickly came from afar and slowly gathered outside the prison cell, forming into 2 figures. 2 cold lights flashed, and the iron bars were instantly cut by the sharp daggers, revealing a gap that was more than half a meter high. "Let's go," Murphy immediately said. The sudden appearance of Murphy and little Pomelo shocked Yuan Fong, but when he realized that they were the people who came to rescue him, Yuan Fong was ecstatic. Therefore, under the surprised gaze of Murphy and little Pomelo, he picked up the food and began to stuff it into his mouth. "What are you doing?" Murphy could not help but frown. I really can't hold on any longer. Since I can walk, I don't have to struggle anymore, I must eat," Yuan Fong answered vaguely. Upon hearing this, Murphy and little Pomelo looked at each other, almost stabbing him in the back. Did this sound like something a human would say? They came from afar to rescue him, but this little Baldy obviously did not have the consciousness of being rescued. Chapter 434. Murphy and little Pomelo felt extremely helpless as they looked at Yuan Fong, who was wolfing down his food. To them, eating at such a critical moment was not being careless but being extremely stupid. However, to Yuan Fong, who had been struggling for a whole day, he was afraid that he would develop a mental barrier if he did not eat this meal before leaving. Fortunately, Yuan Fong finished his meal quickly. As he stood up, he looked at Murphy and little Pomelo and said, "My 2 benefactors, let's leave now. Don't rush. We can sneak, but you can't. It's not that easy to get out." Murphy immediately spoke and then opened the team's live chat channel. He said, "I've found the little monk. Make some noise and we'll bring him out." On the edge of the sinkhole, Gu Yu and the rest who were already prepared immediately took action. Mo Lingtian and Yi Chen drew their bows at the same time and began charging. 2 flaming arrows slowly took shape and solidified. Bang! The bowstrings trembled and 2 arrows were released, shooting toward the bottom of the mansion of the dead's sinkhole. Although one of the arrows was completely off the intended direction, fortunately, one of them accurately hit a tent at the bottom of the sinkhole. Boom! The tent fell apart in an instant. Flames rose and began to burn fiercely. The loud noise alerted many soldiers from the 9 luminaries. The well-trained soldiers did not hesitate and decisively sounded the alarm in the military camp. A large number of soldiers began to rush out of the tents and quickly gathered. Even Earth, who was in the midst of cultivation, suddenly opened his eyes at this moment with a trace of anger flashing in his eyes. He did not have to guess to know that it was the player clan again. He immediately stood up and walked out of the military camp. When he walked out of the military tent, it was a mess outside. A large number of soldiers were running toward their respective teams and getting ready to gather. In the distance, a tent was burning. The player clan is above the sinkhole. Red Tiger Camp, kill with me. Southeast side above the sinkhole. Mystical Earth Camp, kill with me. Teams of soldiers quickly gathered and began to kill Guyu and the rest under the leadership of their commander. Guyu and the rest could not help but look grim when they saw the situation. Although the firepower attracted was not bad, the pressure they had to bear was also great. Everyone, get ready. The bastards from the 9 luminaries are coming. Lu Chai clenched his fist as a ferocious look flashed across his face. At this moment, Guyu directly activated the body of the evil god. Red lines began to spread on the surface of his body. His body suddenly grew a meter taller, and his crimson eyes looked exceptionally terrifying. Seeing this, Qi Ming took a step forward and slammed the staff in his hand into the ground. A ghost dom domain that covered a radius of 15 meters was formed. Countless black shadows crawled out from the ground and began to wander in the ghost dom domain, wailing. Humph! While Ao Jian snorted coldly, the 9 spiritual swords behind him slowly floated into the air and began to hover above his head. With a point of his arm, the 9 spiritual swords formed a sword formation in front of him. Everyone began to exert their strength and prepared to face the enemy. At that moment, a melodious and ethereal voice rang out. The voice seemed to be able to wash away the anxiety and fear in people's hearts, allowing them to focus instantly. At the same time, a game notification rang in their ears. Game notification. All party members have received the blessing of Fengling's Song of the Wood Deity. All party members will receive 15 HP recovery per second, 200 HP bonus, 7 yendi bonus, and 10% speed bonus. What the F***CK, that's powerful. Sun Qi's eyes widened when he saw the effect of the attribute enhancement. Sun Qi, work harder and evolve as soon as possible. Otherwise, my sister Fengling will definitely surpass you. She's a group support, and the coverage is much larger than yours. Shueli pulled out her dagger and said to Sun Qi proudly. Ha ha! Sun Qi could not help but stick out his tongue in reply. Be quiet, they're coming. Try to hold on a little longer and buy them some time, Lu Chai said with a solemn expression. At the same time, the purple gemstone on his body began to shine, and a ferocious purple shadow of a wild leopard appeared on his boxing gloves. Alright, you guys go. Don't worry about my healing capacity. As long as I don't get killed instantly, there shouldn't be a problem. Sun Qi grinned. 2 pairs of small wings grew out from his back and flapped as he levitated into the air. Howl! An arrogant dog howled. The sky was instantly lit up by the scattering of pale green light spots. Game notification. All party members have entered the healing range of the Reign of Tranquility. 30 HP recovery per second. Little fella, come out and bite me. At this moment, Yi Shuer threw out a ball-like object. The ball-like object exploded in midair, and then a ferocious red fire dragon emerged. Roar! The moment the fire dragon appeared, it began to roar excitedly. Then, it descended and stood behind Yi Shuer. What the F***? Fire dragon? The first pet in the whole server? Shweli looked very shocked. That's right. I've fed it with spiritual materials. Yi Shuer smiled sweetly. Then, she pulled out her dagger, twirled it twice between her fingers, and suddenly clenched it tightly. Kill! Battle cries filled the sky. Densely packed soldiers of the Nine Yao army surged up from the slope of the giant crater. The scene was terrifying. The collective battle cries even made the earth tremble slightly. Let's go! Lu Chai took a step forward and leaped into the air. Then, he swung his arm downwards forcefully. Suddenly, a shadow of a purple wild leopard surrounded by lightning bolts pounced down, knocking down a large number of Nine Yao army soldiers along the way. At this moment, Lu Chai, who had landed on the ground, clenched his fist. Instantly, the purple wild leopard exploded. Streaks of lightning scattered in all directions, electrocuting another group of Nine Yao army soldiers. Although the effect of this attack was outstanding, everyone in the team did not let their guard down at all because there were just too many Nine Yao army soldiers. As the front line, Gu Yu and Lu Chai were undoubtedly under the greatest pressure. At this moment, Gu Yu had already activated blood combustion. The scarlet flame outside his body burned and danced, making him look extremely ferocious and terrifying. He really looked like a devil. Boss Lu, let's compete to see who can kill more. I'm not reconciled to losing to you back then. At this moment, Gu Yu turned his head and stared at Lu Chai with his scarlet eyes. Haha, come, let's have some fun tonight. As a large number of Nine Yao army soldiers surrounded them, both of them dashed out at the same time and began to slaughter the Nine Yao army soldiers in the front line in order to protect the rear. On the second tier, Qi Ming and Ao Jian began to kill the remaining enemies that had bypassed Gu Yu and Lu Chai and entered the line of defense. On the third tier, Yi Shuer Shweli and the other assassin players began to wander around, looking for stray enemies and quickly harvesting them. In addition to the double HP recovery buff, the Wall Cheater team's first assembly erupted with unparalleled power and forcefully withstood the first wave of ferocious attack. Naturally, Earth, who was far away, had also noticed this scene. His expression became extremely solemn. This was because he could also see that these players were very different from most of the other players. They were obviously much stronger in terms of strength. However, he did not think that a mere dozen people could take down this place. Moreover, he did not think that this team would be so ignorant as to try to take down the camp that he was stationed at because it was simply unrealistic. In that case, they must be plotting something by doing this. Earth could not help but fall into deep thought. He began to think about what exactly they were plotting. As he thought about it, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He thought about the little Baldy that he had recently imprisoned. At this moment, he could not help but reveal a smile on his face. Thinking of this, he immediately turned around and dashed toward the direction of the prison cell. At the same time, Murphy and Little Pomelo received the retreat signal from Lu Chai in the team voice chat. They decisively pulled Yuan Fong out of the prison cell and began to run toward the outside world. Their journey was very smooth. A large number of soldiers were attracted by Gu Yu and the others. All of them had gathered to besiege them. There were no soldiers stationed outside the prison cell at all. Seeing this scene, Murphy and Little Pomelo were overjoyed. They quickly pulled Yuan Fong and sprinted to the other side, intending to escape with Yuan Fong. However, at this moment, a figure appeared in front of them, looking at them with a smile. This person was wearing a khaki armor. There was a pattern that looked like a mountain peak in between his eyebrows. It was Earth, one of the Nine Yao brothers. What a foolish plan! Earth shook his head and sighed as he looked at Murphy and the others. At this moment, Murphy and Little Pomelo's expressions changed abruptly. Initially, they thought that this plan was a success. However, they did not expect that the strongest person in the camp, Earth, would stop them at this crucial moment. Almsgiver Earth, how have you been? Yuan Fong immediately greeted. Long time no see. Earth smiled faintly. May the Lord Buddha bless your family, Yuan Fong said again. At this moment, Earth's smile disappeared, and his eyes revealed a murderous intent. Little monk, run, we'll stop him. Under such circumstances, Murphy and little Pomelo quickly made a decision. Almsgiver, we'll live and die together, Yuan Fong said with determination. Stupid bald donkey. He won't kill you. You won't die even if we die. Do you think you're filming a movie where we'll live and die together? We're here to save you. Run. Murphy was so angry that he wanted to turn around and stab Yuan Fong in the back. Got it. Hearing Murphy's rebuke, Yuan Fong was slightly embarrassed. He quickly turned around and ran away. He won't be able to escape, and both of you must die too. Earth snorted coldly when he saw this. He suddenly rushed toward Murphy and little Pomelo, swinging both of his palms at the same time. At this moment, Murphy and little Pomelo merged into one and turned into a shadow, narrowly dodging the attack. Although they knew that they were no match for Earth, they were still confident that they could withstand the attack for a while. After all, they had the strength of a ghost commander. When Earth missed his attack, the black shadow on the ground slid to the back of Earth. Both of them leaped out of their consolidated forms at the same time. Their sharp daggers, accompanied by a sudden flash of cold light, stabbed down violently. Roar! Earth stomped on the ground with his right foot. A violent wind pressure was formed with him as the center, sweeping in all directions. Instantly, Murphy and little Pomelo who were close to him flew away. Above the sinkhole in the mansion of the dead, the battle between Gu Yu and the others was still going on. Facing more and more enemies, the pressure on them continued to increase. Most importantly, the enemies had begun to surround them. At this moment, Ao Jian and Qi Ming had also become the front line. Together with Gu Yu and Lu Chai, they were defending the four directions of the team, resisting the enemies coming from all directions. Under such circumstances, everyone in the team was tense. This was because their HP was going up and down too quickly. It was so fast that they thought they would die in the next second. Fortunately, Sun Qi and Feng Ling's HP buff was very powerful, so they managed to maintain their HP. Now, they could only hope that Murphy and little Pomelo had already rescued the little Baldy. Otherwise, not only would their efforts be in vain, but the garrison of the 9 luminaries would also notice their intention. It would be even more difficult to rescue the little monk next time. Chapter 435. Facing the siege of the 9 luminary soldiers, Gu Yu and the others found it extremely difficult to resist. The attacks did not only come from the 9 luminary soldiers in front of them, but there were also countless long-range attacks coming from the back. Under the overwhelming attacks, no matter how strong the few of them were individually, they were gradually unable to hold on. Under such circumstances, Gu Yu even spent a lot of money to purchase a batch of auxiliary tools from the shop in order to hold on a little longer. At this moment, they felt that it was almost time. From their point of view, Murphy and little Pomelo should have taken the little Baldy away. However, at this moment, Sun Qi's voice suddenly came from above. What the F***CK? Why is that idiot here? Sun Qi, what's going on? Shueli, who was killing the enemies, could not help but ask. That damn bald donkey, he ran in our direction. He's now mixed in with the 9 luminaries soldiers and getting beaten up. F***CK. At this moment, everyone in the team cursed. They were speechless at such a stupid teammate. They were desperately resisting the enemy to buy time for the little Baldy to escape, but they did not expect the Baldy to run in their direction. I'm going to save him, you guys hold on, Ao Jian said in a deep voice. He then waved his right arm, and the 9 spiritual swords lined up in front of him, forming a circular lotus sword formation, and began to push forward. Ao Jian, it's all up to you. Lu Chai roared and slammed his crimson right arm on the ground, sending a group of soldiers flying. Without Ao Jian, the pressure on the team increased tremendously. Fortunately, Yi Shui's fire dragon came in handy at this moment. It blocked Ao Jian's previous position and blocked the attacking soldiers. There was no doubt about Ao Jian's strength. As the sword formation rotated, sword aura crisscrossed, and soon a path was cleared. However, he also felt the pressure at this moment because the sword formation consumed too much energy, and he felt that he could not hold on for much longer. However, he still gritted his teeth and persevered. As he pushed forward, he soon arrived near Yuan Fang's position. At this moment, Yuan Fang was still lying on the ground, surrounded by the 9 luminaries' soldiers. He screamed from time to time, "Monk, come with me!" Following Ao Jian's angry roar, a huge spiritual sword shot from afar, crushing all the soldiers in the surrounding area. Then, the giant spiritual sword collapsed and separated, turning back into 9 spiritual sword. "Thank you." Yuan Fang quickly got up from the ground and ran toward Ao Jian along the path. The 9 spiritual swords protected Yuan Fang, killing the soldiers who were attacking from all directions and escorting him to Ao Jian's side. "Go!" Ao Jian let out a furious roar. As he turned around, he clasped 2 of his fingers together to form a sword finger. Once again, he manipulated the spiritual sword to initiate the massacre, clearing a path for Yuan Fang to Gu Yu and the others. Under the protection of Ao Jian, Yuan Fang ran all the way and finally reached a safe area. At this moment, Ao Jian finally could not hold on any longer. The spiritual power in his body was exhausted, and he was surrounded by the surrounding soldiers. However, he did not give up. He gripped his sword with both hands and began to fight with all his might. Under such circumstances, no matter how strong Ao Jian was, he could not hold on for long. He fell to the ground and turned into a black fog. Game notification. Team member Ao Jian has died. Hearing the game notification, Shueli could not help but slap the round Baldy's head. "Damned bald donkey, don't you know how to run? Why are you running into a pit?" When Yuan Fang heard this, he rubbed his head, feeling aggrieved. "I didn't want to either. The earth elemental blocked my way, so I could only run forward." "What? You were discovered by the earth elemental? What about Murphy and little Pomelo?" Yi Shui stared at him and asked. "They are dragging the earth elemental, and let me run first," Yuan Fang said in a slightly aggrieved tone. Slap. Hearing this, Shueli could not help but slap Yuan Fang's bald head again. "Why did you run when I told you to? Don't you know that we'll live and die together? Scumbag!" Yuan Fang was speechless. "Little monk, stand in the center area and protect yourself," Gu Yu said. With Ao Jian dead, the pressure on everyone increased dramatically. Even with Sun Qi and Feng Ling's double healing, they could not hold on any longer. "Big Boss Gu, this won't do. We can't kill all the 9 luminaries. If we can't get out, we'll still die in the end." Lu Chai could not help but roar. Gu Yu's expression was extremely solemn. This was because in the plan of this battle, they were to be sacrificed to buy time for Murphy and little Pomelo. However, the target they were supposed to rescue had come to their sacrificial team. This made them feel very helpless and even helpless. Under such circumstances, they were surrounded by dozens of layers of 9 luminaries soldiers. Even if they could fly, they could not fly out at all. Moreover, once the earth elemental had killed Murphy and little Pomelo, they would definitely come looking for them. By that time, they would not be able to leave. "Damn bald donkey, I guess you'll be sent back to prison again." Sun Qi could not help but grit his teeth in the sky. "I'm sorry to be a burden to all of you," Yuan Fang said in a slightly wronged manner. "Everyone, hold on a little longer and think of another way." Feeling helpless, Gu Yu could only say so. "F***ck, I've got an idea." At this moment, Sun Qi suddenly howled. "Say it. F***ck, we can't hold on any longer, stupid dog." Lu Chai could not help but roar when he heard that. "Big Boss Lu Chai, don't you have an ultimate sacrificial skill? Is it called Sea God Transformation? Use it now. Sun Chi quickly roared. F***CK. At this moment, Lu Chai really wanted to grab Sun Chi in his hand and punch his face a few thousand times with his iron fist. Although the tidal sacrifice was a very powerful ability, Lu Chai was traumatized after using it once. He almost became autistic because of it. If he were to use the sea god body, wouldn't he return to level 0 again? Yeah, Big Boss Lu, the sea god body, Xueli said with bright eyes. F***CK, I don't need it, Lu Chai said gloomily. After thinking for a while, he still posted the details of the tidal sacrificial skill on the team's public channel. Tidal sacrificial skill, special sacrificial skill. Skill introduction, a gift from the sea god. Once this skill is activated, the user can choose to sacrifice some tributes to receive the blessing of the sea god. Selectable tributes: soul coins, equipment, health points, attribute points, spiritual materials, spiritual ores, experience points, level, skill hint. The tributes cannot be returned after resurrection. F***CK, this skill is really exciting. Xueli could not help but exclaim. Don't interrupt. At this moment Yi Xuer suddenly appeared beside Xueli and helped him kill a 9 luminary soldier who was attacking them. Do you think I dare to use it? If I want to bring him out under the siege of so many 9 luminary soldiers, I'll have to sacrifice all my levels and equipment. This is my year's worth of hard work, Lu Chai said helplessly. I have an idea, Big Boss Lu. Spiritual materials will work too, right? I have 30,000 level 1 spiritual materials in my space. Is that enough? Gu Yu said excitedly. F***CK, how would I know? Why don't we give it a try? Lu Chai's eyes suddenly lit up. Deal. Both of them exerted their strength at the same time and repelled a wave of enemies. Then, they decisively opened the trade. In order to speed up the trade, Gu Yu directly ticked the option of all spiritual materials and traded all the spiritual materials in his space in one go. At the same time he received the spiritual materials, Gu Yu also activated the tidal sacrificial skill. Skill hint: tidal sacrificial skill is activated, please choose the method of sacrifice. Sacrifice all the spiritual materials in his space. After the choice was made, a blue wave came crashing down from the sky and crashed where Lu Chai was. Then, it formed a circle of blue ring-shaped water wave that rotated rapidly around him and came into contact with Lu Chai's body. The body formed by the water elements quickly formed in the rolling wave. 4 limbs, torso, head, roar. Accompanied by an angry roar, the water ball was smashed, revealing Lu Chai, who was in the sea god's blessing state. His body was 4 meters tall, and his entire body was formed by translucent blue energy. Behind him was a sea god's scepter that was shining in a bright blue light. It looked very domineering and was filled with divinity. Beginner Ghost King lasts for 10 minutes. Lu Chai shouted excitedly. With the strength of a Ghost King, he was completely confident that he could escape with Yuan Fang. At this moment, everyone in the team was overjoyed. They knew that there was hope for them to escape. However, before they could rejoice for a few seconds, they saw Earth Yao's figure suddenly descending from the sky and slapping them with his palm. F***CK. Everyone cursed. They thought that they had a chance to escape, but they did not expect Earth Yao to come. One must know that Earth Yao also had the strength of a beginner Ghost King. Moreover, there were so many soldiers from the 9 luminaries around them. On the other hand, Lu Chai's sea god's body could only last for 10 minutes. It was impossible for them to escape under Earth's suppression. Facing Earth Yao's attack, Lu Chai immediately roared and smashed his right fist upward. Boom! The moment the fist collided with the palm, Lu Chai's body became shorter. Countless blisters appeared on his right arm. However, this time, Earth Yao was also slapped away by this collision. Well done! Sun Chi could not help but shout. Well done my A**S. He's stronger than me. That punch took away 1/10 of my HP. I didn't fly away because I'm standing on the ground. Sun Chi was speechless. It's over, Yi Shuai said dispiritedly. Monk, do you have any abilities? You can't just stand and watch, right? Shuai immediately turned to look at Yuan Fong. I have percentage damage reduction and fixed damage reduction. I'm more resistant, Yuan Fong answered honestly. Hearing this, Chernziu was stunned for a moment. Then, he was pleasantly surprised. I have an idea. Cast. Everyone roared. Winchim has an ultimate single-target blessing ability that increases the target's HP by 3,000 points. The duration is also 10 minutes. Ask him to use this skill on Little Baldy, then ask Lu Chai to use Little Baldy as a shield. Let's give it a try. While speaking, Lu Chai grabbed the dumbfounded Yuan Fong and held him in his left hand, using him as a shield. Dog, don't use group healing. Heal Boss Lu alone. We'll have to rely on him to break out of the encirclement. Okay. Hearing this, Sun Chi immediately turned off group healing. Then, he flew to Lu Chai's back and lay on it, activating continuous single healing. At this time, Windling started chanting. Countless runes began to surround Yuan Fong in Lu Chai's hand, increasing his HP. Seeing this, Lu Chai took out a pile of potions from the channel and traded them to Yuan Fong. Take all of these potions, quick! Although Yuan Fong was reluctant, he still obediently consumed the amplification potion. At the same time, Lu Chai also began to swallow the potions. Defense potion, health potion, speed potion, recovery potion, fire potion, strength potion. A bunch of potions were poured into his mouth. Fire Dragon, go and be Boss Lu's mount, Yi Shuai said to her pet. The fire dragon immediately flapped its wings and came to Lu Chai's side in the sea god form. Lu Chai rode on it. At this moment, Lu Chai felt extremely powerful. Not to mention the various potions, he had a great defensive shield on his left hand, a sea god scepter on his right, a fire dragon under his crotch, and a super healer on his back. He was invincible. Brothers, I suddenly don't want to run anymore. Believe it or not, I can kill this earthen, Lu Chai suddenly said in the live chat channel. Looking at Lu Chai in the ultimate form, Gu Yu and the others were stunned. After thinking about it, they could not help but nod. Chapter 436. Lu Chai was 4 meters tall in the state of sea god body, and his entire body was surrounded by water element. At this moment, his left hand was holding a sparkling golden cube that was surrounded by countless amplification runes, while his right hand was holding the sea god's scepter that was overflowing with light and resplendent blue light. Lu Chai felt that he was really strong with the addition of Sun Chi, who was lying on his back and the fire dragon under his crotch. Therefore, he did not want to leave anymore at this moment. He even wanted to kill them all. Seeing Gu Yu and the others nodding their heads, Lu Chai raised his head excitedly and let out a roar. The fire dragon under his crotch suddenly spewed out flames and swept an empty space. Don't even think about leaving. At this moment, Earth appeared from the right and swung his fist at Lu Chai with a hideous smile. He had already realized that Lu Chai's strength was still far from his. It would not be difficult for him to kill all of them. F***CKU. I won't stop until you're dead. Lu Chai immediately turned around and swung Yuan Fong at Earth. Bang! After a brief silence, the violent airflow blew all the surrounding soldiers away and the ground sank. At this moment, Yuan Fong's head was buzzing and he was completely stunned by the attack. He felt as if his soul had left his body and his eyes widened subconsciously. Game notification. Received 3218 damage from Earth. Fixed damage reduction of 500 points, 55% damage reduction of 1495 points, total damage reduction of 1995 points, total damage reduction of 1223 points. Game notification. Received Earth's attack. 15% damage reflection, Maximum damage reflection at level 1 is 2000 points. Total damage reduction of 300 points. When the game notification appeared, Earth suddenly felt an inexplicable force surging into his body, causing his body to tremble. "Dog, heal the bald donkey!" Lu Chai shouted in ecstasy when he saw that it was effective. "Okay." Dog, who was lying on Lu Chai's back, immediately targeted Yuan Fong and restored his health back to full in a moment. Ha ha! At this moment, Lu Chai was extremely excited. He waved his right arm and smashed the sea god's scepter toward Earth. Earth was shocked and immediately tried to dodge to the side. At this moment, the fire dragon suddenly stretched out its head and bit Earth's left leg, preventing him from leaving. Bang! The blow accurately hit Earth's head. Violent water elements overflowed from the sea god's scepter and frantically washed over Earth's body. "Eat my leg!" Suddenly, Lu Chai leaped up from the fire dragon's back. Like a whip, his right leg lashed out at Tu Yao's head, causing him to fall to the ground. Roar! At this moment, Earth Yao was infuriated. The moment he fell to the ground, the yellowish aura around him surged and quickly covered the surface of his fist. Then, he turned around and threw a punch at Lu Chai. This punch was powerful and heavy, as if a mountain was pressing down. Upon seeing this, Lu Chai raised his Yuan Fong without hesitation and pushed it forward. Boom! The ground caved in once more. This attack caused Yuan Fong, who had just regained his senses, to fall into a trance again. He felt as if he was drifting in the boundless starry sky, surrounded by stars, blurred. Yuan Fong couldn't help but retch. "Go Z, fill it up," Lu Chai said as he stepped forward again. Taking advantage of the fact that Yao Tu's qi and blood were surging due to the recoil, Lu Chai smashed his scepter on Yao Tu's face again, sending him flying dozens of meters away. This scene dumbfounded Gu Yu and the others who were not far away. Although they thought that Lu Chai might be able to compete with Earth Yao in his current state, they did not expect him to be able to suppress Earth Yao. At this moment, Lu Chai was extremely excited. He only had one thought at the moment, which was to take advantage of the 10 minutes of transformation to completely kill Earth Yao. Roar! Earth Yao stood up again. This time, the way he looked at Lu Chai became extremely ferocious. His body surface was gradually covered by the yellowish aura, causing the ground to tremble. Countless pieces of soil floated into the air and began to gather on his body. In the blink of an eye, Earth Yao had transformed into an earth giant that was 6 meters tall. The mountain mark on his forehead was overflowing with light, constantly solidifying his earth giant's body. "Those who oppose me shall die," Earth Yao said as his body flashed and dashed toward Lu Chai. At this moment, Earth Yao was completely enraged. He planned to attack with all his might and completely defeat Lu Chai. Lu Chai was not afraid. He immediately patted the fire dragon and dashed toward Earth Yao. The battle between the two giants began once again. However, Lu Chai only had one tactic, which was to use Yuan Fong to block the attacks and take advantage of the time when the damage was reflected to launch an attack. To Earth Yao, this tactic was extremely shameless. He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. In particular, Yuan Fong's damage feedback could not be blocked even with his earth giant armor. It directly hurt his body, and he could not do anything about it. In such a battle, Lu Chai, Sun Qi, and the fire dragon gradually cooperated with each other. As for Yuan Fong, he was completely used as a shield by Lu Chai. He did not have the slightest ability to control himself and was constantly in a state of dizziness. His health was constantly fluctuating and he did not even have the energy to howl. At this moment, Yuan Fong really wanted to say to Lu Chai, "Lord Buddha, bless you. Earth Yao, can you still do it? Can you break through my defense?" Lu Chai could not help but mock when he waved the sea god's staff and smashed it on Earth Yao's head again. Upon hearing this, Earth Yao was infuriated. He initially thought that he could turn Yuan Fang into a black fog with a few punches so that he could face Lu Chai and kill him. However, he had obviously miscalculated this time. With Sun Qi's support, Yuan Fang was able to quickly recover his HP. Under such circumstances, the more Earth fought, the more depressed he became. On the other hand, Lu Chai became more and more excited. Eventually, he abandoned the Sea God's scepter and used his fists, which he was best at. Even so, Earth still found it difficult to defend himself. This was the power of a combination. Attack equals Lu Chai, main body, defense equals Yuan Fang, Nani equals dog, amplification equals potion plus wind, chime speed equals fire dragon, every part made up for Lu Chai's shortcomings. This is awesome. Lu Chai shouted angrily and smashed his fist on Earth Yao's chest again. Suddenly, the soil on Earth Yao's chest cracked and he was forced to retreat. He fell to the ground with a loud bang. That's awesome. Boss Lu, kill him. Sun Qi was lying on Lu Chai's back and shouted excitedly. No problem. Lu Chai grinned and stepped forward again. He grabbed Earth Yao's right leg with one hand and lifted it up for another shoulder throw. Boom! The ground shook. Lord Earth Yao is in danger. Everyone, follow me! At the back of the 9 luminaries' army, the ghost commander who was leading the team to besiege Gu Yu and the others looked extremely serious. They immediately gathered together and charged at Lu Chai. Gu Yu saw this and a pair of wings appeared on his back. He leaped forward and blocked their way. Our battle is not over yet. Kill. The few commanders immediately stepped forward and wanted to kill Gu Yu. Qi Ming and the others saw this and quickly stepped forward to help. This time, the situation of the battle changed. It became Gu Yu and the others blocking the attacks of the 9 luminaries' army and the few commanders to buy time for Lu Chai to kill Earth Yao. Knowing the importance of time, Lu Chai's attacks became more and more ferocious. He blocked with his left hand and attacked with his right hand. Under the combination of attack and defense, Earth Yao was forced to retreat. The surface of his body was covered with cracks and soil was falling off continuously. Under Lu Chai's continuous attacks, Earth Yao could not hold on any longer and began to vomit blood. At this moment, if he attacked, he would be injured. If he did not attack, he would still be beaten. He was extremely frustrated, but there was nothing he could do. As the battle continued, the soil on Earth Yao's body fell off in large areas. He panicked. Now his brothers were guarding his big brother Xing Yao's breakthrough to the late Ghost Emperor stage. He was the only one stationed in Beiki, but his opponent's strength was obviously not something he could fight against. If the battle continued like this, he would definitely die. At this time, Earth Yao was not aware of the time limit of Lu Chai's sea god body. After realizing that he was no match for Lu Chai, he suddenly thought of escaping. If he continued to fight, he believed that he would be exhausted to death sooner or later because he could not break through his opponent's defense. Moreover, he was injured now. If he did not run now, he would not have a chance when his strength was exhausted. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth and turned to leave. As for the territory of the 9 luminaries' army in Beiki, although he was unwilling to lose it, he knew that as long as his big brother broke through to the late Ghost Emperor stage, it would be a piece of cake for him to take back Beiki. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and endured the pain in his body. He turned around and floated into the air, shooting toward the sky. Trying to run. Seeing this, Lu Chai immediately patted the fire dragon. The fire dragon immediately flapped its wings and flew up with Lu Chai, chasing after Earth Yao. At this moment, Earth Yao was injured and his flying speed was obviously reduced. Lu Chai's body in the form of water element was not heavy, so the fire dragon did not feel much of a burden. In terms of speed, it was not much slower than Earth Yao. Looking at the time, it was less than 5 minutes. Lu Chai was anxious because the fire dragon's flying speed obviously could not catch up with Earth Yao. If this continued, he would be killed when the transformation time was up, unless he retreated now. However, He had already injured Earth Yao. How could Lu Chai be willing to leave just like that? Thinking of this, Lu Chai summoned the sea god's scepter that was floating behind his back into his hand. He began to gather the power of the water element and formed water balls, throwing them toward Earth Yao. At this moment, the land battle had changed to an air battle. As a warrior, Lu Chai also transformed into a sorcerer. However, Lu Chai, who had no spellcasting experience, threw all kinds of water balls off target, making him extremely annoyed. "Boss Lu, are you a pig? You threw it off target, you threw it off target. F***ck, you couldn't even throw it at such a close distance just now. If I were you, I would choose to commit suicide. Oh my god. How could you throw it off target like that? What the F***ck? Sun Chi, who was lying on Lu Chai's back, kept howling. "Shut up, stupid dog." Lu Chai was extremely helpless. He felt that he was not made to be a sorcerer at all. He could not even throw the water balls at the target. It's over. Earth Yao has run far away. This is a huge loss. Sun Chi could not help but hold his head in disbelief. They initially thought that they could kill Earth Yao this time and make a huge profit. They did not expect that even though they could defeat Earth Yao, it seemed like Earth Yao was about to run away. "Stupid dragon, fly faster." Sun Chi, who was unwilling, immediately climbed from Lu Chai's back to the fire dragon's head. He imitated Lu Chai's tone and shouted angrily. At the same time, he raised his claw and slapped the fire dragon's head. Roar! A trace of grievance flashed in the fire dragon's eyes, but it still increased the speed of its wings. However, the distance between the two sides did not shorten. It was still getting further and further away. This filled Lu Chai and the others with unwillingness. Watching such a huge piece of cake flying further and further away, they were in a terrible mood. At this moment, Earth Yao, who was flying, suddenly trembled and slowed down significantly. Drops of blood slid down the surface of its body. Earth Yao, who had suffered a lot of backlash previously, finally could not hold on any longer and his earth elemental body began to crack. Oh ho! This is a godsend opportunity. Stupid dragon, come and kill with me. Seeing this scene, Sun Chi's eyes widened. He then arrogantly stepped on the fire dragon's head and shouted at Earth Yao. Roar! The fire dragon responded with a roar and flapped its wings wildly. At this moment, the distance between the two sides began to gradually shorten. Lu Chai, Sun Chi's and the fire dragon's expressions gradually turned ferocious and murderous. At this moment, Earth Yao was obviously unable to hold on any longer. Its flying speed had decreased greatly. Even if it gritted its teeth and persisted, the distance between them was still getting shorter. Ahahaha, Earth Yao, your brother dog is here. Do you want me to heal you and let you fly another 100 meters? Sun Chi laughed arrogantly. Stupid dog, go back to your back. Be careful of being killed by Earth Yao's counterattack. Lu Chai could not help but scold the arrogant dog. Alright. Sun Chi answered immediately. He leaped up and climbed onto Lu Chai's back. 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 10 meters. As the distance between them shortened, Lu Chai could not help but raise the sea god's staff and get ready to hammer Earth Yao. The smile on the faces of the man and the two beasts became extremely ferocious. As long as they got close to Earth Yao, the injured Earth Yao would definitely die. At this moment, Earth Yao was also panicking. Looking back at Lu Chai, who was getting closer and closer, he wailed in his heart. He felt that he would not be able to escape death. However, at this moment, a flaming arrow flew from below and accurately hit the fire dragon under Lu Chai. Game notification: attacked by teammate Yi Chun. As a member of the same team, the damage is exempted. Although the damage was exempted, the fire dragon's rhythm was obviously disrupted. Its body suddenly fell, and it flapped its wings continuously to stabilize itself. However, at this moment there was a large distance between it and Earth Yao. F***ck. Sun Qi and Lu Chai's eyes widened. I'm sorry. I just realized that the distance between you guys had increased, so I wanted to save the situation. Moreover, I was aiming at Earth Yao. Yi Chen's slightly embarrassed voice was heard in the live chat channel. F***ck, go to hell, pighead Yi. I'll bite you to death when we get back. F***ck, you promised to save the situation by accident. Is this how you hurt your teammate by mistake? See if I don't beat you up when we get back. Roar anger. At this moment, Lu Chai and the others really wanted to smash Yi Chen's head. This was too much. Victory was clearly within their reach, but they did not expect Yi Chen to ruin it. Stupid dragon, fly quickly. If we can't catch up with Earth Yao today, I'll stew you too. Sun Qi angrily slapped the fire dragon's head and scolded as Earth Yao flew further away. The fire dragon felt wronged when it heard that. It even wanted to turn around and complain to Yi Shui. It felt that the man and beast on its back were like hooligans who had no manners at all. Fortunately, Earth Yao was already seriously injured. In terms of flying speed, Lu Chai and the others still had the upper hand. The distance between them was still decreasing bit by bit. Pighead Yi, I'm warning you. Don't use your random arrow anymore. My heart is not well. Sun Qi immediately warned in the live chat channel to be on the safe side. Yes. Yi Chen knew that he had made a mistake and quickly admitted defeat. At this moment, the man and the two beasts' expressions became ferocious again. Their killing intent rose again. As the distance between them shortened, Lu Chai once again raised his sea god's scepter and was ready to smash Earth Yao. It was getting closer and closer to 10 meters. 5 meters. Lu Chai raised the sea god's scepter high and began to accumulate strength, preparing to smash Earth Yao's head. At this moment, the sound of a sharp object piercing through the sky was heard. Lu Chai and Sun Qi immediately turned their heads and saw a blue arrow appearing from below, speeding toward them. Upon seeing this, Lu Chai and Sun Qi immediately began to curse in the live chat channel. Even the fire dragon below could not help but roar in anger. Bosses, it really wasn't me this time, Yi Chen said dumbfoundedly. At this moment, the arrow flew past the surface of the fire dragon's body and accurately hit Earth Yao in front of it. Suddenly, a blue light flashed and Earth Yao let out a shrill scream. The earth elemental body on the surface of its body had completely collapsed and its body suddenly fell from the sky. The man and the two beasts who witnessed this scene were dumbfounded. Chapter 437. Lu Chai and Sun Qi were dumbfounded when they found out that the arrow was not shot by Yi Chen. Kill steal? The thought popped up in their minds. At the border between the barren grassland and the mansion of the dead, a handsome man stood there. He was wearing a black robe with blue vine patterns on his sleeves and lapels. He was carrying a quiver on his back. At this moment, in his left hand, a blue bow formed from energy was shining brightly, and an arrow was slowly condensed in his right hand, which was pulling the bowstring. He aimed at the falling Yao earth and shot the arrow again. A sharp whistling sound rang through the air as the arrow pierced through the sky, once again accurately hitting the falling earth. Accompanied by Earth's blood-curdling screech, a blue energy flower bloomed in the air, instantly as gorgeous as fireworks. F***ck, don't let the kill steal. Stupid dragon, fly down now. Sun Qi shouted anxiously. The fire dragon roared in response. Its body suddenly descended and began to dive toward the falling Yao earth. At this moment, a scene that shocked Lu Chai and the rest happened. The arrow that was inserted in the Yao earth's chest suddenly twisted and formed a miniature blue formation. A ferocious demon with 2 horns on its head roared and emerged from it. Its body kept expanding in the air. It then grabbed the Yao earth and stuffed it into its mouth. No! At this moment, Lu Chai and Sun Qi began to wail in horror. The Yao earth in the Ghost King realm could bring them great benefit. At the very least, they could level up a few levels. How could they be willing to let their kill steal just like that? At this moment, Sun Chi wanted to pounce on the Yao earth and give it a big mouthful of milk. However, this ferocious demon obviously would not listen to Lu Chai and Gu Yu's screams. It swallowed the Yao of earth into its mouth, and its body began to distort. It let out a hoarse roar towards the sky before its body exploded along with the Yao of earth's body. Oh my God! Sun Chi held his head in horror. He felt that he had lost a huge amount of money. This was the feeling of heartache. At this moment, Lu Chai was also furious. He patted the fire dragon under him and said, "Go toward the direction where the arrow came from." Upon hearing this, the fire dragon immediately flapped its wings and stabilized its body. It then dived toward the direction where the arrow came from. After killing two Yao, the man did not leave. Instead, he looked at Lu Chai and the others who were approaching him with a smile on his face. Then, he clenched his left hand and the longbow formed by energy suddenly transformed into a hollowed-out pattern on his wrist. "Ah, asshole, go to hell! That's the bastard, kill him!" Lu Chai and Sun Chi, whose eyes were bloodshot, arrived at this moment. The furious Lu Chai immediately raised the sea god's scepter and decided to blow up this person's head. Seeing this, the man's expression was indifferent. Instead, he took a step forward. Suddenly, a huge blue formation appeared under his feet, and a blue demon that was over 10 meters tall emerged from the formation. Roar! At this moment, the fire dragon collided with the blue demon. The blue and scarlet flames began to collide and corrode each other. At this moment, Lu Chai and Sun Chi turned their attention to the man protected by the blue demon. Analyze ability activated. Gani, late Ghost King. Character details. Son of the leader of the Galu denomination in the Luoho region. Proficient in many kinds of Azura path powers. Known as the most talented saint in the Luoho region, he is one of the strongest competitors for the King of Luoho, His Excellency. Character status. Lost voice, unable to speak when in the Azura path Chi cultivation state. After seeing this person's information, especially his strength, Lu Chai and Sun Chi's expressions became extremely ugly. Although this person's identity seemed to be very powerful, Lu Chai and Sun Chi did not care at all. The most important thing was that they could not defeat him. If they could defeat him, even if he was the son of a god, they would still smash his head on the spot. As players, Lu Chai and Sun Chi were just that realistic. Just when Lu Chai and Sun Chi thought that they were going to fight to the death, Gani suddenly waved his hand. The formation under his feet instantly dissipated, and so did the blue demon. However, the fire dragon was still in the midst of diving and could not stop in time. It crashed into Gani angrily. Bang! Gani stretched out his right hand and pressed it on the head of the fire dragon. His body began to slide backward under the effect of inertia. He slid for more than 10 meters before coming to a stop. Looking at Gani, who suddenly stopped, Lu Chai was stunned. He did not know if he should hit the sea god's scepter that was raised high. As if to show that he was not an enemy, Gani took a few steps back and shook his head at Lu Chai. Lu Chai was not surprised that Gani could not speak after reading his information. He immediately jumped down from the back of the fire dragon and walked to Gani. Sun Chi's son also jumped down from Lu Chai's back and came to Gani. He stood up straight and pointed at Gani with one hand on his waist. "Hey, I don't care who you are. You have to pay me this time." Gani obviously did not understand and showed a confused look. After thinking for a while, he began to use his hands to gesture to express his meaning. Sun Chi's son and Lu Chai were stunned by his gesture. "Are you King Naruto? What are you doing?" Sun Chi's eyes widened. Green veins appeared on Gani's forehead. After thinking for a while, he suppressed his anger and slowed down his hand's speed before gesturing again. Sun Chi's son, Lu Chai's son, Sun Chi's son and Lu Chai were speechless. They did not understand. Would they understand if they slowed down their hand speed? At this moment, Gani was a little anxious. He made another set of hand signs. "Boss Lu, what should we do? We can't communicate with this mute. Sun Chi's son said helplessly. How the f***ck would I know? Wait, let me take a look at the shop. I think I've seen a translator in the tools category before. Thinking of this, Lu Chai opened the game shop, selected the special toolbar and started searching. After a while, Lu Chai's eyes lit up. Item details. Created by a research expert who wishes to remain anonymous. It can translate the meaning of the other party through their body language. Item price. 68 soul coins. Durability. 10 out of 10. Lu Chai immediately chose to buy it. The body language translator was a small silver box. Lu Chai immediately held it in his hand and said to Gani, "Come on, continue gesturing." Hearing this, green veins on Gani's forehead twitched, but he still gestured. This time, the translator ran automatically and began to explain what Gani said. Gani, I'm the holy son of the Galu denomination from the Rahu land. I mean no harm to you. Then why did you steal the kill? Lu Chai glared at him. Gani, I saw that you guys were chasing after the Earthlings. I realized that you guys couldn't catch up, so I helped. Thank you so much. Gani, you're welcome. At this moment, Lu Chai almost raised the sea god scepter and gave this guy a critical hit on the head. Tell me, what's your purpose? Lu Chai could tell that Gani came with a purpose, so he immediately asked. Gani, I know that you're the player clan and you're currently at war with the 9 luminaries. Our Rahu land is preparing to declare war on the land of the 9 luminaries and plunder all their spiritual minds. So, do you want to cooperate with the Rahu land and conquer the land of the 9 luminaries together? The Rahu land is going to declare war on the 9 luminaries? Hearing this, Lu Chai's eyes widened. Lu Chai didn't know much about the Rahu land. He only knew that the Rahu land was located to the north of the 9 luminaries, and it was a big domain formed by many forces. However, unlike Baiki, the forces in the Rahu land were very united. If there wasn't a huge conflict, they wouldn't start a war because they all believed in the same ancient god, the Asura. Therefore, the cultivation system in the whole big domain was very unified, and everyone was a cultivator of the Asura path. This was also because the players who liked to explore had explained the local customs and practices of the big domain on the official website after they arrived. At that time, Lu Chai happened to see it, so he had some understanding of the new big domain. Thinking about this, Lu Chai couldn't help but frown. Since the start of the war between the land of the 9 luminaries and the player clan, they had lost at least a third of their soldiers. Including Tu Yao, 4 of their brothers had died. It was obvious that the Rahu land was plotting against the land of the 9 luminaries because of the heavy losses they had suffered. The act of beating a drowning enemy was so **king realistic. However, Lu Chai did not think that this was a good thing. After all, they knew too little about the Luoho land, and the alliance was unreliable. Perhaps the Luoho land would attack the players next after the 9 luminaries were annihilated. After playing the game for more than a year, Lu Chai had a clear understanding of the survival rules of this world. He also understood the principle of the survival of the fittest. With the strength of the players, they had no right to negotiate with the Rahu land. Even if the 9 luminaries were destroyed, the player clans still wouldn't have the right to speak because their strength wasn't equal. Seemingly noticing the worry in Lu Chai's eyes, Gani began to gesture. Gani, I know what you're worried about, but don't you want to take back Baiki that belongs to you? As far as I know, His Excellency Xing Yao is ready to break through to the Ghost Emperor realm. Now, to prevent other forces from taking the opportunity to attack him, he has summoned all his brothers except for Earthlings. As long as he succeeds in breaking through, it will be very difficult for you to take back Baiki. You might even be wiped out. The meaning of Gani's words was obvious. He was even warning Lu Chai that if he didn't cooperate, destruction would be waiting for him. Regarding this, Lu Chai's expression was calm and he didn't panic at all. From Lu Chai's point of view, so what if Xing Yao had broken through to the godly state? Could he jump out of the game world and attack me? Lu Chai didn't feel pressured by these words at all. He even wanted to laugh. I don't believe you. Lu Chai told the truth. Gani. The reason I came to Beiki this time is to take advantage of Xing Yao's breakthrough to kill Tu Yao so that we can have one less strong enemy in the war. Don't tell me that I'm not sincere enough? If Xing Yao knows that I killed his brother, he'll definitely fight to the death with the land of Raho. How can you guarantee that the player clan will get the benefits we deserve after conquering the land of the 9 luminaries? Lu Chai frowned. Gani. This war is of great significance to the Rahu land. The 5 clans of the Rahu land will choose the new king of Rahu according to the merits of killing the enemy. If I can become the king of Rahu, I promise that I will never go to war with Beiki. When the time comes, I will definitely give you the benefits you deserve. Hearing this, Lu Chai was stunned. At this moment, he knew what Gani was thinking. Did he want the players to help him become the king of Rahu? Chapter 438. Upon seeing this, Lu Chai immediately raised the sea god's scepter and smacked it on Gani's head. Power of Azura, incomplete active. Bang! Before Lu Chai could finish his sentence, his right arm was crushed by Gani and turned into blue crystals. Give me back the clan weapon, or I'll kill you. After some thought, Gani chose to agree because he believed that the 2 players in front of him would not be stupid enough to play tricks in front of someone who was far more powerful than them. That would only lead to death. What clan weapon? What are you talking about? I don't understand sign language at all. The dog said blankly. Skill note. This skill can only be used once every 72 hours. After using it, there is a very low probability of learning a skill of the Azura path. At this moment, Lu Chai's sea god body's duration was up. His body suddenly collapsed and Lu Chai and Yuan Fong fell to the ground. This was just like the cursed Apostle clan. Even though they knew that the result of failure would be terrible, they still chose to support one side after coming to Beiki to fight for a chance of survival in the future. As for the extinction of the clan, the hammer smashed Gani's body to the ground. Anger appeared on his face as he slapped Lu Chai's sea god's scepter away. Then, he grabbed the dog's neck with a murderous look in his eyes, as if he wanted to force the dog to return the clan weapon. He did not lose anything anyway, so it did not matter if he died. I'll give you back your hammer. Equipment of this quality could be counted on one hand in Beiki. It was too tempting for them. This time, Sunga light did not appear as if it had disappeared into thin air. Yeah, who are you? Why are you so close to me? Do we know each other? Lu Chai asked immediately. Item effect. Sunga illusion, active. Azura demon formation, active. Power of Azura, incomplete active. Cursed light, passive, bang. Gani's face turned gloomy. He held Lu Chai's fist with one hand and gestured, however, if the players wanted the benefits promised by Gani, they could only wait for him to ascend to the throne. This was equivalent to asking the players to help him fight for the throne. At this moment, Lu Chai only wanted compensation. After all, it was impossible for him to agree to cooperate. What I mean is, we need your sincerity. Do you have any precious items with you? Lu Chai asked seriously. Hearing this, Gani could not help but frown and then gestured. Didn't I say I don't need to give it to you? After experiencing so many twists and turns, Yuan Fong felt mentally exhausted. Not only was he being used as a shield, but now he seemed to be in a life-and-death situation. How could he play the game properly? Hearing this, Gani could not help but be stunned, and immediately made a set of sign language. Tell me, where did the race weapon go? Seeing this, Gani immediately gestured. Without any hesitation, Sun Chi stored the light of Sunga into the space. Gani was anxious and could not help but make a series of gestures. Why don't you just jump out of the game and hit me? A legendary weapon. After understanding the reason, Gani's face showed a conflicted expression. At this moment, Gani's expression was one of shock as he stood rooted to the spot. Looking at Lu Chai and Sun Chi, Gani thought for a while and took off the bracelet on his left wrist. Thinking of this, Lu Chai could not help but smile. However, Gani did not pay attention to Yuan Fong. His fingers kept closing, and his murderous intent surged. Then, he gestured with his hands. First, he promised the players some benefits, and then pulled them onto the ship. At this moment, Lu Chai only had one thought in his mind. This mute guy was dreaming. Slowly closing his fingers, Gani's anger was at its peak. Where's my race weapon? Azura Demon God Formation, active. Sun Chi could not help but roll his eyes when he heard this. I'm just taking a look and appraising the quality of this item. I'll return it to you immediately. Skill Introduction. Using the light of Sangha to cause any damage to the enemy will cause the target to enter a cursed state. The target will start to lose health points, and negative statuses will be added. The effect of the curse can be stacked. The damage is related to the strength of the target's spell defense, and the negative statuses are related to the holder's Azura realm. It was still impossible to return it, and the worst that could happen was death. Yuan Fong, who could not understand this set of gestures, was dumbfounded. There was no way to communicate at all. Will this work? Gani gestured. This was the result of Gani's lack of contact with the player clan. If it was an ordinary clan, faced with such a crisis, they would naturally choose to agree, even if it was extremely risky, because this was the last chance for the clan. A member of the Calamity clan who did not play by the rules, negotiating terms? There was no such thing. Yuan Fong's dull eyes suddenly regained some clarity. He slowly turned his head to look at Gani, his expression extremely surprised. You can't possibly think that we, the player clan, will covet your race weapon, right? Or do you think that we can snatch it by force with our strength? Lu Chai pretended to be angry as he spoke. Let me have a look. Happiness was the most important thing in a game. Are you going to use water escape, fire escape, or lightning slash? Your hand speed is quite fast, Sun Chi chuckled. Skill Introduction. Once this skill is activated, the light of Sangha will help the holder understand the power of the Azura realm, as well as the 10,000 techniques of the Azura realm. Lu Chai, who had revealed his true form, rubbed Yuan Fong's dazed head. He smiled as he stood up, looked at Gani, and said, if possible, we would even like to start a war with your two big regions. Seeing that the light of Sangha had disappeared, Gani was astonished. After all, it was normal for different races to have completely different traditions. However, he did not bring any valuable items with him at the moment. This is the tradition of the player clan. If you bring valuable items with you, it means that you have come with sincerity. Of course, we will only take a look at the items you bring with you. We will not accept them. Sun Chi stood upright, his expression extremely sincere. At that moment, Lu Chai and Sun Chi only had one thought in their mind. Item Introduction. A legendary equipment forged by the descendants of the Galwa with the body of the first leader of the Galwa, along with many precious spiritual materials. It is one of the two major race weapons of the Galwa. Seeing this, Sun Chi held the translator that he had just bought from the shop and said, after all, this was a race weapon. He would not feel comfortable handing it over. Seeing this, Gani felt conflicted. He was not surprised by such a strange race tradition. Almsgiver, the Buddha bless your family. What land of the 9 luminaries? What land of Luoho? We want them all. We players never make a choice. We are greedy and unrestrained. Kid, take this as compensation for stealing the kill. If you are not satisfied, what can you do to me? Gani did not hesitate this time. His eyes flashed fiercely as he snapped Sun Chi's neck. Looking at the light of Sangha in Gani's hand, Lu Chai and Sun Chi were almost drooling. However, Gani was facing a player. Return the race weapon to me. Otherwise, the player clan will face the wrath of the land of Luoho. Sangha Illusion, active. Slurp. Sun Chi wiped the corner of his mouth and stretched out his paw. He subconsciously reached out to grab the black mist that Sun Chi had transformed into, but there was nothing there. In the upcoming battle for the king of Luoho, losing the light of Sunga was undoubtedly fatal for Gani. He felt like he was going crazy from anxiety. Skill introduction. The light of Sunga has no fixed form. It can transform into any form of weapon, according to the user's will. After a fruitless search, Gani's eyes flashed coldly. He looked at Yuan Fong, who was sitting on the ground with a dull look on his face. Sun Qi silently deactivated his pain sensation and raised his middle finger. Seeing this, Lu Chai chuckled and hammered his fist at Gani's head. Return my ass. Have you ever seen a player return something that he borrowed? Don't you know your limits? Lu Chai and Sun Qi's eyes immediately focused on Gani's bracelet. Skill introduction. Inject the power of Azura into the light of Sunga. When attacking, it can trigger the Azura demon god pillar in the weapon, summoning a demon god from the Azura path to descend and attack the target. However, he really needed help from an external force. Even he was not confident in winning the battle for the Azura King's position. Except for his race weapon, there was no gaming experience at all. Almsgiver, please let me go, said Yuan Fong pitifully. It's not a problem if you want to meet our clan leader. However, if you don't bring anything valuable with you, it's disrespectful to our clan leader. He won't meet you. Lu Chai seemed to have noticed Gani's hesitation and continued to instigate him. Sun Qi instantly turned into a black mist and dissipated with the wind. However, the light of Sunga did not appear. What a shrewd plan. What does sincerity have to do with what valuable items I brought? Gani was speechless. Gani's eyes seemed to be spitting fire when he heard that. The shadow of the Azura demon god appeared behind him and grabbed Lu Chai. He crushed Lu Chai on the spot and exploded into a black mist. Furious, Gani began to search for souls around him. However, Sun Qi's and Lu Chai's souls had already returned to the artifact's space. No matter how hard Gani searched, he could not find any trace of souls. Panicking, Gani made another series of gestures. Light of Sunga, Legendary Level 2. He was not worried that Lu Chai and Sun Qi would be able to take away his race weapon. After all, he was strong enough that they would not have a chance to escape even if they wanted to. Light of Curse, Passive. He walked up to Yuan Fong, grabbed him by the neck and slowly lifted him up. Moreover, he could not just let go of the fact that his kill was stolen. He had suffered such a huge loss. He had to get something back. Gani, what do you mean? Do you agree or refuse? If possible, I would like to meet the clan leader of the player clan and have a face-to-face discussion with him. At this moment, Yuan Fong knew that he would not be able to escape death. He could not help but sigh. Yuan Fong could not help but scratch his head because he could not understand what was going on at all. The Light of Sunga was not only the race weapon of the Galoa sect, but it was also his most handy weapon. It was also the carrier of his Azura power. Without the Light of Sunga, his strength would be weakened by at least 30%. Hearing this, Gani could not help but frown. He then gestured and said, "Let's not talk about cooperation first. Let's talk about compensation first. Do you have any spiritual materials or treasures with you?" At this moment, Sun Qi's and Lu Chai's serious expressions collapsed. Their smiles were as treacherous as they could get. "Tell me where the race weapon is and I'll let you go." Skill hint. The stronger the Azura power, the stronger the descending Azura demon god will be. If the Sea King, the 9 Luminaries brothers, or even Yuanxu were here, they would definitely yell, "I don't believe you." However, Gani knew too little about the player clan. Although he was hesitant, he still passed the Light of Sunga to Sun Qi's. Chapter 439. After killing Lu Chai, Sun Qi, and Yuan Fong, Jiani's face was still extremely gloomy. Initially, he thought that his trip to Beiki would be able to rope in the troubled player clan and get them to help him fight for the throne of King Rao. Little did he expect that he would end up losing the clan weapon, the Light of Sangarama. At this moment, Gani was extremely furious. The Azura demon god phantom behind him became more and more solid. Then, it suddenly punched the ground, causing the ground to tremble. A deep pit appeared in the area where it was hit, and blue flames danced in the deep pit. Right now, Gani only had one thought in his mind, and that was to find the leader of the player clan and force them to hand over the sapphire light. Thinking of this, Gani's figure floated into the air and shot toward the mansion of the dead in Baiki. Without the light of Sangarama, his advantage over Luoho King would no longer exist, and he would not even be able to answer to his clansmen when he returned. At this moment, he knew that the only way was to find the player clan. Before Lu Chai and the dog died, the battle at the Mansion of the Dead had already ended. Gu Yu and the others could not resist the attacks of the 9 Luminaries soldiers and the Ghost Supreme Commanders at all after all the buffs were given to Lu Chai. The team was defeated in less than a moment. In the end, all of them died under the attack of the 9 Luminaries soldiers and turned into black fog. After exiting the game, Gu Yu and the others quickly logged into the official website of battle, opened their friend list, and clicked on the wall communication group. Gu Yu, is Boss Lu here? How's the situation? Go Z. Boss, the result is too tragic. You have to be mentally prepared. Lu Chai, sigh, it's a long story. This result, Gu Yu, what happened? Yi Shuer, at least we saved the bald donkey, didn't we? Although it's a pity that we didn't kill Earthen. Qi Ming, everyone, calm down. Misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. Yi Chen, I feel like I've made a huge mistake. I'm bowing to all of you. Little Pomelo, can you tell me in detail what happened? Murphy and I were killed trying to stop Earthling. It seems like we missed something. Little Ball wailing. JPG, Guzzy Little Pomelo, you actually turned your own child into an emoticon? Staring blankly at dog. JPG, Little Pomelo, I took a picture when I was playing tennis. I asked my friends in the forum to help me make it into an emoji pack, Chiochioakim. JPG. Murphy, Aojian, have they been rescued? Dog, the process was full of twists and turns. Just as we were about to catch up to Earthling, our kill was stolen. Guyu, who did it? Which bastard? Is it a player from the European server? Gozi, that guy is called Jianai. He comes from the Rahuland. His strength is at the Ghost King late stage. He's very arrogant, even more arrogant than me. Guyu, and then? You were also killed by him? Guzzy, boss, it's sad to talk about it. That guy wanted to use us players as cannon fodder. Of course, we didn't agree. In the end, he killed me and Boss Lu. Little Ball wailing. JPG. Little Pomelo dog. Backstab warning, this is my picture, don't steal it, Chiochioakim. JPG Guyu. I hate it. At least we can make a fortune after killing Earthen. Fortunately, we saved the little Baldy, so it's not a big loss. Sigh. Guyu, oh yeah, I'll pull the little Baldy in. Player Yuan Fong has been added to the group. Guzzy, the new bald donkey, send red packets of soul coins, starting from 100. This is the group rule. Yuan Fong, the Buddha Master is watching you from the Western Paradise and protecting you. Hu He, newcomer's photo. Laughing emoji Niefeng. Newcomer's photo. Laughing emoji. Tang Mu, welcome the newcomer. Handshake emoji. Bai Zhe, the dead group is suddenly lively. Did something big happen? Guzzy, I noticed that everyone has appeared. I think it's time to show off. What do you think, Boss Lu? Lu Chai, sure. Let's take advantage of the fact that everyone is here. Guyu, what do you mean? Black guys question mark emoji Guzzy. Next, it's time to witness a miracle. Attached picture. Light of Sunga, Lu Chai. This is the final reward. That idiot Jianai is so gullible. I guess he's going crazy now. Tonggua's smug face. JPG, Guyu, hiss. Yi Shuer, damn. A legendary grade weapon. I'm rich. I've made a killing this time. Yi Chen, can you sell this weapon to me? When the time comes, I can transform into an axe for melee combat and a bow and arrow for ranged combat. Ah, I really want it. Hoo-hee, I can't stay in this group anymore. I can't accept this show-off anymore. It's making me uncomfortable. Heartache emoji, Niafong. I've left the group. I've left the group. I didn't see any red envelopes. Instead, I keep seeing you guys showing off. Is this something that a human can do? Little Pomelo, it's a good weapon. Can we exchange it for a house in Bakey? Bright eyes emoji, Guyu. This weapon has great potential. Not only does it come with 4 skills, but it can also help the wielder understand the Azura Realm skills. We've made a killing this time. Guzzi. Speaking of this weapon, I have to say that I have the acting skills of an award-winning actor. Ahem, everyone can just watch and praise me. I'm easily satisfied. Niefone, how did you get this weapon? Also, what happened? Confused emoji, Shweli. You guys might not believe it, but we only wanted to go to the pit of the dead to save someone. In the end, Earth Yao forced us to kill him. Laughing emoji, Hoo-hee, Earth Yao is dead? Where's the corpse? I want it. Guzzi at Hoo-hee, it exploded. It exploded in the air like a beautiful firework. Hoo-hee, my heart hurts even more. I can't stay in this group anymore. I'm leaving the group. Heartache emoji, Lu Chai. Oh right, let me tell you guys something. Recently, the Rahu region is going to war with the land of the 9 luminaries. Gani said it himself. They're going to take advantage of Xing Yao's crisis of breaking through to the next level to attack the land of the 9 luminaries. Guyu, the rules of survival in battle games are so realistic. They'll attack as soon as there's a profit to be made. That's so cruel. Hoo-hee, that's normal. I've dug up many ancient tombs and seals. I've learned that many races started to weaken due to certain reasons. In the end, they were all targeted by other forces and eventually devoured. Even the forces of the original alliance joined in the encroachment. Laughing emoji, Tang Mu. If you fall behind, you'll get beaten up. Actually, that's the rule of survival everywhere. It's just that it's more vivid in the game. Lu Chai. When the war between the land of the 9 luminaries and the Rahu region starts, the soldiers of the Mansion of the Dead will definitely retreat. By then, Bakey will be back in the hands of us players. But the problem is, if the land of the 9 luminaries is really conquered by the Rahu region, Bakey won't be safe again. Tang Mu. It's not necessarily a bad thing to drive the wolves and the tigers away. What the Bakey players lack the most now is unity. As long as the Mansion of the Dead is rebuilt, the players' strength will be united again. We might be able to stir up some trouble when the war between the 9 luminaries and the Rahu region starts. Shweli. Yes, let's restore the Mansion of the Dead first. Anyway, we players won't help anyone. Laughing emoji, Guzzi. We players will do whatever we want. We'll beat whoever we don't like. What 9 luminaries? Rahu? Jump out of the game and beat us up. Laughing emoji, Shweli, hee Guzzi is right. When the war between the 2 regions starts, we'll go through the barren grassland and take advantage of the situation. We'll seize some spiritual mines and get rich. Yi Chen. Happy the Mansion of the Dead is going to be rebuilt. I miss Tonghua and the rest a little. I haven't won money from Tonghua for a long time. My treasury is running low. Laughing emoji, Lu Chai. Then I'll go to the forum and make a post. I guess the soldiers of the Mansion of the Dead's sinkhole will be leaving soon. We can let the players come back now. Laughing emoji, Guzzi. Let's go home. Just as the war between the 9 luminaries and the Rahu region was about to start, the Bakey players were ready to take advantage of the situation. Perhaps to the forces of the Rahu region, the player clan would not dare to participate in the war since they could not even protect themselves. This war was just a battle of interests between them and the 9 luminaries, which had suffered a great loss. However, to the players, as long as there was interest, they would fight for it even if it meant going through a mountain of blades or a sea of fire, or even if the road ahead was full of dangers. For the players, life and death had always been something that could be abandoned at any time in the face of soul coins. After all, death was only 3 hours in the eyes of the players. Chapter 440. Azura Temple, Luoho Land. The statues of the 8 Azura demon gods stood on both sides of the temple, and a huge bronze statue of the Azura god that was more than 30 meters tall stood in the center. This was an important place for the forces of the Luoho land to worship the ancient god, the Azura demon god. The interior of the temple was decorated in dark red, making it look extremely solemn and solemn. At this moment, the leaders of the 5 major forces of the Luoho land and their respective clan leaders were standing in the center of the temple with solemn expressions. Behind each of them stood 1 or 2 juniors. They were currently discussing the election of the king of Luoho and how to conquer the land of the 9 luminaries. In fact, the Rahu domain originally had a King Luoho, and after each King Luoho died, the next King Luoho would be chosen by the various forces of the Rahu domain through their collective expansion campaigns, and they would be rewarded with military exploit. It had been hundreds of thousands of years since the death of the previous king of Luoho. They had been silent for too long. Now that the land of the 9 luminaries was in danger, the forces of the Luoho land saw it as an opportunity to elect a new king of Luoho. However, no one knew the cause of the death of the previous king of Luoho except for the leaders of the 5 major forces. Moreover, the leaders of the 5 major forces were very reluctant to mention the previous king of Luoho. Although the juniors were curious, they dared not ask too many questions. The battle against the land of the 9 luminaries this time was extremely important to all the forces present. This was because the battle was not only for plundering resources, but also for the election of a new king of Luoho land, an important moment for the new ruler. At this moment, Gani, who had just returned from Baki, stood behind the clan elder with a gloomy expression. He was extremely agitated. Originally, he was the most promising candidate for the position of king of Luoho. However, his huge advantage was now gone after he returned from Baki. This was a huge blow to him. For this reason, he had searched all over Baki. Although he found many players and clansmen, there was still no news of the Sangharama light. Now that the clan elder had called him back, he could only return angrily. Seeing that everyone had arrived, the black-robed old man standing in front of the Azura demon god statue coughed twice, then took a step forward and said, "Although everyone is clear about the rules, I still have to remind the various clans that we are all descendants of the Azura demon god. In this external war, no one is allowed to secretly attack the members of your own forces for the sake of winning the position of Azura king. If anyone dares to violate the rules, you will have to bear the consequences, and your clansmen will also be punished accordingly." As he spoke, the black-robed elder's expression turned cold as he swept his gaze over the various clan leaders present and the competitors behind them for King Luoho. Those who were swept by his gaze could not help but lower their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. This was because not only was this black-robed old man publicly acknowledged as the strongest expert in the Rahu region, he was also the previous king of Rahu's tribe. Regardless of whether it was in terms of authority or strength, he was not someone that the various races could go against. However, there was one thing that puzzled the various races. After the death of the previous king of Luoho, the king clearly had the strength to take over the position of king of Luoho. Why did he choose to retire behind the scenes? To them, this was an irresistible temptation. This was because the current king's strength had already reached the intermediate Ghost Emperor realm. As long as he became the king of Luoho and received the blessings of the great emperor, his strength would rise to the peak Ghost Emperor realm. However, this black-robed king had resolutely chosen to retire in the face of such a huge temptation. Even though the other clans had repeatedly begged him to take over the position of king of Luoho, he did not agree. Although the various forces did not know why, they could not resist the temptation of the king of Luoho initiated by the king and would definitely do their best to participate in it. This was because as long as they could win the position of King of Luoho, not only would they be able to obtain a large amount of resources for cultivation, but their clans would also rise and become the #1 force in the entire Luoho region. If it was not for the king's rule that the older generation was not allowed to participate in this King of Luoho battle, and that each clan could only send 2 juniors at most, the old fellows of the various forces would not have been able to hold back and would have personally participated in it. Is everyone clear? At this moment, the king spoke in an indifferent tone. Rest assured, king. We will abide by your teachings and will not attack our own bloodline. The clan leaders immediately replied. Upon hearing this, the king nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he suddenly looked at Gani, who was standing behind the clan leader of the Jiaoluo clan. Gani! Upon hearing the king calling him, Gani, who was deep in thought, felt his heart skip a beat. He quickly stepped forward and bowed respectfully to the king. King, I'm here. Gani, where's your clan artifact? Why didn't I sense it? Upon hearing this, Gani's face instantly turned pale, but he did not dare to lie. I lost it. What, lost it? The clan leader of the Jiaoluo clan exclaimed before the king could reply. Lost it? Tell me, how did you lose it? The king continued to ask with a calm expression. At this moment, Gani was panicking, but he did not dare to neglect the king's question. He immediately recounted his encounter in Beiki in detail. Oh? Earth Yao is dead? And your clan artifact was taken by the player clan? The king seemed very surprised. Yes, I wanted to rope in the player clan and let them be our cannon fodder when we attack the land of the 9 luminaries, but I didn't expect. Gani did not hide anything at this moment because he did not dare to. King, we can't just let this go. The forces of Beiki dared to go against us, the Raho clan. They must pay the price. The elder of the Jiaoluo clan said angrily. Let's not talk about Beiki for now, the king said after thinking for a while. King, the Light of Sunga is our clan's important artifact. We can't lose it, the elder of the Jiaoluo clan said anxiously. The waters of Beiki are too deep. We can't enter it for now. The king said indifferently. King, what do you mean? The forces of Beiki can't even defeat the 9 luminaries. What do we have to be afraid of? The elder of the Jiaoluo clan said angrily. I don't need you to understand. The king stared at the elder of the Jiaoluo clan with purple mist swirling in his eyes. At this moment, the elder of the Jiaoluo clan felt as if his neck was being restrained by an invisible pair of hands that kept tightening. His face gradually turned red. At this moment, he hurriedly nodded with a pleading look on his face. Upon seeing this, the purple mist in the king's eyes dispersed. He did not look at the elder of the Jiaoluo clan who was still panting. Instead, he turned to the crowd and said, Luo Xiao, stay here. The rest of you may leave. Upon hearing this, everyone in the hall bowed to the tribe leader respectfully before dispersing. At this moment, there was only one person left in the hall. This person was very tall and sturdy. His bronze-colored skin seemed to be cast from reinforced steel, and his muscles were very well proportioned. His naked upper body was even outlined with dark red-veined patterns. He was very domineering, and his appearance gave off a very strong sense of oppression. Do you know why I don't let the Jiaoluo clan go to Beiki? A smile appeared on the king's face as he looked at the burly man. It's none of my business, Luo Xiao said bluntly. If anyone else was present, they would definitely be shocked to the extreme for daring to speak to the king in such a manner. This was an act that was completely suicidal. However, the king was not angry. Instead, he still had a smile on his face. Half a year ago, I discovered that some forces from the Heaven Realm had broken through the barrier and arrived. At that time, I used the Shura Eye to investigate the area where the forces from the Heaven Realm had descended. Do you know what I saw? Those bastards from the Heaven Realm are probably here to capture the remnants of the Heaven-defying alliance again. Otherwise, what else would they be here for? Luo Xiu could not help but twitch his mouth. I saw an old friend, North Sea. What? Hearing this, Luo Xiu's expression suddenly changed. Didn't he die in battle with the Northly deity a long time ago? How could he still be alive? At this moment, Luo Xiu was very surprised. Aren't you still dead? The former Luoho king, Shura, the king said with a smile. Hearing this, Luo Xiu's eyes were filled with uncertainty. At this moment, he thought of the meeting hundreds of thousands of years ago. The battle between him and that extremely arrogant guy. The result of that battle was his crushing defeat. At that time, he opened his mouth angrily and wanted to fight again after he became a god. However, the guy who called himself North Sea rejected him. He said that becoming a god was nothing. A true powerhouse should take the path of killing immortals and igniting the divine fire. This path was the true path of godhood. As long as he succeeded, he would be invincible among those of the same realm. At that time, he was called Shura and was the well-deserved king of the Luoho land. It was also that battle that defeated him and made him realize that there was always someone better out there. His so-called invincibility among those of the same realm was just a joke. It was also at that time that Shura promised North Sea that he would also walk this path. If you can do it, I can definitely do it. In the following tens of thousands of years, Shura made preparations to kill gods and waited for the moment when he became a god to fight North Sea again. However, to his regret, North Sea died prematurely. He was killed by the forces of the heaven realm together with the Northly deity and the Northly deity. This became a regret in Shura's heart. He could no longer fight North Sea, nor could he prove to him that he was the strongest among those of the same realm. Even so, Shura continued on the path of killing immortals and becoming a god, because he wanted to achieve the ultimate path of godhood that North Sea could not achieve even until his death. After reaching the demigod realm, he chose to kill immortals without hesitation. He risked his life to kill a god from the heaven realm and obtain the divine fire. After that, he left the Luoho land and began a journey that lasted thousands of years. However, he was eventually found by the forces of the heaven realm and was killed by the gods of the heaven realm. He was one of the losers on this ultimate path of godhood. However, what the gods of the heaven realm did not expect was that Shura had already made preparations for his resurrection. Azura path, extreme path, Shura turned after hundreds of thousands of years of slumber. He woke up 300 years ago and regained his memories. However, he did not dare to reveal his existence because he was a taboo. Although he was not a member of the Heaven-Defying Alliance, his name still existed on the must-kill list of the forces of the Heaven Realm. Apart from the tribe leader of the Luoho land, no one knew his true identity. Hearing that North Sea did not die was too unbelievable for Luo Xiu. Then this time, is he dead? Luo Xiu asked solemnly. He's not dead, but he successfully obtained the divine fire. Just like you, he began a life of hiding from the gods of the heaven realm and fleeing for his life. The tribe leader said with a smile. Since this guy survived, he actually did such a crazy thing. He really doesn't want to live anymore. Although he said this, a smile appeared on Luo Xiu's face, because this was the North Sea he knew. Looks like I have to hurry up and catch up. My Azura path has already achieved great success, and it's not difficult to restore my previous realm. Then I'll first sacrifice His Excellency Xing Yao. As he spoke, a sinister smile appeared on Luo Xiu's face. Could it be that you still want to walk the path of killing immortals and becoming a god? Hearing this, the tribe leader was surprised. If North Sea can do it, why can't I? At this moment, a hint of madness and anticipation appeared in Luo Xiu's eyes. Chapter 441. Then, he turned to Huo Yao and said, there were only 5 brothers left in the 9 luminaries. Moreover, they had lost a lot of troops in the battle against Beiki. If Xing Yao could not break through the realm, they would have to face the covetous wolves around them. However, no matter how sorrowful they were, they still did not tell Xing Yao about the news for fear of disturbing his breakthrough. Just now, they received the bad news that their ninth brother, Earth Yao, was dead. Finally, the two of them went up to the main hall and looked at the starry sky while drinking and chatting merrily. Ha ha ha, you better forget about this. Otherwise, I'll definitely beat you up when I recover my strength. I don't know if this is true, so I can only report it. Great Lord, you can decide if you want to kill them or discuss it with them. I was going to kill these two players, but they told me something. I think it's better to report it since it's of great importance. The source of our spiritual energy is the outskirt. However, the spiritual energy in the outskirts is very special and can't be absorbed directly. Of course, the Emperor is the supreme of the human world. Rumor has it that their strength is even stronger than the Emperor of the underworld and the immortal Emperor of the heaven realm. The tribe king said. This was what they were most afraid of. Now that their big brother was about to break through, if the forces of the land of Rahu attacked them now, they would not have the military power to fight back. Huayao's expression changed when he saw the piece of flesh. Land of the 9 luminaries, dark heaven pavilion. Get lost. The tribe king slapped Luo Xiu's hand away with a disgusted look on his face. Since you haven't recovered your strength, does that mean I can beat you up? The tribe king said with a malicious look on his face. You're talented and strong. What else can you do? The tribe king could not help but roll his eyes. In the dark heaven pavilion, His Excellency Xing Yao was sitting cross-legged on a cattail hassock. He was surrounded by many precious spiritual materials and spiritual energy treasures. His 4 brothers were guarding him with serious expressions, waiting for their big brother to break through and advance to the Ghost Emperor realm. When the time comes, they would completely rely on their big brother's strength to take over Beiki and let one of their brothers ascend to the Ghost Emperor realm. Seeing Huayao's arrival, Guyu could not help but grin. He knew that the 9 luminaries must have been frightened. I don't want to persuade you anymore. Anyway, I'm not the one who died. Do whatever you want. This time, I want to become Luoho King just so I can see the great Emperor again and ask him about some things. Once I get my answer, I'll give you the title of Luoho King. I don't care. Yes, it's very important, although this is only my guess, Luo Xiu said. That night, the sky above the Rahu region was filled with dazzling stars. Occasionally, a meteor would streak across the sky. A moment later, Huayao followed the guard commander to the outer hall of the mysterious heaven pavilion. Seeing this, Luo Xiu walked to the front of the clan king and patted him on the shoulder. Huayao, I know you won't believe me. That's why I brought this. Guyu took out a piece of minced meat from his pocket. Therefore, they were extremely nervous at this moment. The tribe king could not help but sigh as he looked at Rashu, who had a determined look on his face. Looking at the shocked tribe leader, Luo Xiu continued. White Phantom, the white phantom that can speak. Huayao's expression froze when he saw Guzi baring his teeth. If it wasn't for the player clan, the land of the 9 luminaries wouldn't have fallen into such a predicament, and his brothers wouldn't have died. This is the last time. If you die again, the Rahu King will be mine. After arriving at the entrance of the cabinet, Huayao gave his subordinate a look. Then, both of them walked out of the cabinet. What's wrong? Haven't you seen a mutated divine beast before? Don't be so naive. I can even fly. Guzi continued to speak arrogantly. In such a crisis, they had placed all their hopes on their eldest brother, Xing Yao. Didn't I tell you not to disturb me unless it's something important? Originally, the land of the 9 luminaries had 3 Ghost Emperor realm powerhouses, so they were unafraid of any external enemies. However, now that their second brother, Yu Yao, and third brother, Ri Yao, were dead, they no longer had the strength they once had. Hearing Luo Xiu's words, the tribe leader's expression changed abruptly. The player clan said that the forces in the Rahu region have begun to gather their troops and are preparing to attack the land of the 9 luminaries. They said that they want to take over the land of the 9 luminaries. As he spoke, the guard commander's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Upon hearing Hui Yao's words, the guard commander immediately knelt on one knee and said, "Tell us everything you know. Tell me everything you know. Also, tell me your purpose. Look at how arrogant you are. Can't we negotiate properly?" Guzi couldn't help but bared his teeth at Hui Yao. The brothers were bound together for good or bad, so they were equally nervous at this moment. Hearing this, the tribe leader was puzzled. He couldn't help but ask, "What does this have to do with the strength of the human emperor? According to what you said, the human world should be the weakest, right? What's the matter? If you want peace, forget it. The player clan must be destroyed," Hui Yao said in a deep voice. After walking out of the cabinet, Hui Yao stopped in his tracks and said in a deep voice, "Even with the passage of time, the sky was still the same. It had never changed. Watching the fall of generations of heroes in the Rahu region, it had also witnessed the rise of generations of new people, the 100 Ghosts region in the west, the Rahu region in the north, and the Cheonyo region in the south were all extremely powerful beings. Although they hadn't taken any action yet, the brothers of the 9 luminaries were already filled with a sense of crisis. "Shut up!" Guyu couldn't help but glare at Guzi and scolded in the live chat channel. "So what if you're strong? You can't fight against the heaven realm. You're destined to die," the tribe leader angrily rebuked. "Who was the one who clenched his fist and shouted at me with tears in his eyes, saying that King Luoho would be his and that he would never admit defeat?" The tribe leader couldn't help but roll his eyes. Luoxio shook his head. "You don't understand because you haven't experienced it. What North Sea said back then was right. This is the ultimate path to becoming a god. After fleeing for thousands of years, I've deeply understood this point. We were sworn enemies back then, but you chose not to kill me in the end. You even promoted me to be the tribe leader. I've always remembered this kindness." The tribe leader couldn't help but laugh. "Lord Hui Yao, the player clan is here. They're currently in the outer hall of the Dark Heaven Pavilion." Otherwise, he was afraid that Guzi would anger Hui Yao. If that happened, this trip would be in vain. Although he understood the reason, the tribe leader still couldn't help but advise, "How dare you? How dare you? I'm King Luoho. You can't beat me up. You're so gullible. You can't be bought over with just a small favor. You've spent hundreds of thousands of years to set up a trap for me. You're really my good brother. Ha!" At this moment, Luoxio couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, an armored soldier arrived outside the cabinet. He didn't shout and just stood there quietly, afraid that he would disturb His Excellency Xing Yao's breakthrough. "What?" Hui Yao's eyes widened. Hearing this, Luoxio couldn't help but grin. However, the human realm, which is sandwiched between the heaven realm and the underworld, doesn't have any world-creating sacred artifact that can convert spiritual qi. It's like a Tai Chi. The human realm is in the center and can't directly come into contact with the outer world. Damn. It was a huge blow to them that something like this happened at this critical juncture. With a large number of spiritual ores, if they didn't have the corresponding strength, the outcome would definitely be miserable. At this moment, there were 2 players standing in the outer hall. They were Guyu and Guzi. Ah! At this moment, the cold-faced tribe king in the eyes of the various forces of Luoho was full of smiles. He even argued with Luoxio over a small matter in his youth. "Great Lord, please follow me." As he spoke, the guard leader stood up and led Hui Yao toward the outer hall of the Xiantian pavilion. Seeing this, Hui Yao immediately turned around and walked out. "You should know that the world we live in is divided into 3 realms. The heaven realm, the human realm, and the underworld. However, there's an even more vast world outside. That place is collectively known as the outer world. Do you know about the human sovereign?" Luoxio nodded solemnly. "That's right. This is my guess. The reason why the human sovereign could become the strongest must have a lot to do with this. After trying it myself, I know that North Sea didn't lie to me. This Tao is really unbelievably powerful. It's invincible in the same realm, and can even kill enemies of a higher realm. It's the true way to become a god. At this moment, Huayao walked toward Guyu with a cold expression. He looked down at him and said, "Do you know why you lost to me when we fought for the throne of Luoho? The player clan? Why are they here?" Huayao was furious when he heard about the player clan's arrival. At this moment, outside the Xiantian pavilion, all the most elite soldiers of the Nine Brilliance army were deployed and stationed outside the Xiantian pavilion to protect His Excellency Xingyao, who was about to make a breakthrough. As long as Big Brother broke through to the advanced Ghost Emperor realm, the crisis would be temporarily resolved, and they would still have a chance. Although it's invincible in the same realm, it's still just your guess whether it's the Tao of the human sovereign. It's not worth it to risk your life for it. Luoxiu shook his head and smiled. From Luoxiu's point of view, what he wanted was to control his own destiny and not let himself disappear like a shooting star in the sky. Taking a deep breath, Huayao's chest heaved up and down. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, "It's been hard on you. You've done so much for me." So, what North Sea said about killing immortals to become gods is to plunder the yang divine fire of the gods in the heaven realm and use it to complement the yin divine fire that we ignite ourselves to become gods. Luoxiu nodded. After fleeing for thousands of years, I finally understand why killing immortals to become gods is called the Tao of the ultimate god. It's because this is the Tao of the human sovereign. At this moment, the tribe leader suddenly understood something and immediately said, "Don't worry." He immediately said, however, this is not a problem for the three realms because the heaven realm has the heavenly path of reincarnation to convert the energy from the outer realm into spiritual energy, while the underworld has the 6 paths of reincarnation to convert spiritual energy. Although we don't know how they were born, their existence gives us an inexhaustible supply of spiritual energy. As far as I know, during the heyday of the ancient human realm, they relied on absorbing yang spiritual energy from the heaven realm and yin spiritual energy from the underworld to cultivate. The entire human realm was filled with a mixture of yin and yang spiritual energy. This might be the key reason why the human realm became the strongest among the three realms because the spiritual energy they used to cultivate was completely different from the heaven realm and the underworld. It was a special spiritual energy that was balanced and complemented by yin and yang. The dust-laden past emerged one by one as they chatted. During this period, the two laughed heartily as if they had returned to the past, to the time when they fought tirelessly to become stronger. "Do you really want to die? The Azura turnaround only has one chance, and you've already used it. If you die this time, you'll really die." At this moment, it was the biggest crisis that the land of the 9 luminaries had ever faced. If they couldn't overcome it, they would face destruction. "No, it's because I desire to become stronger more than you do. In order to become the strongest, I can abandon everything, including my own life." Chapter 442. Huayao looked like he was about to spit fire when he saw the minced meat in Gu Yu's hand. The 9 brothers were connected by blood. He recognized the minced meat at first glance. It was his 9th brother, Earth. At this moment, Huayao looked at Gu Yu with murderous intent. "Don't misunderstand, we didn't kill Earth. See for yourself if you don't believe me." The reason why he brought Earth's minced meat here was that Gu Yu had already analyzed it beforehand and confirmed that there was a mark of the Azura realm left on it. Huayao suppressed his anger and reached out to take the minced meat from Gu Yu. Earth's expression froze the moment he touched it. A force flowed from his body into the minced meat through his arm. Suddenly, a blue and purple mist appeared on the surface of the minced meat. "The Azura realm!" Huayao exclaimed. "That's right. Although the player clan has a grudge against you, we didn't kill Earth. He was killed by a guy from the Rahu region who calls himself Jai," Gu Yu said calmly. Huayao fell into silence after hearing that. He was sure that the aura of the Azura realm on the minced meat was real. In other words, the Rahu region had bared its fangs against them. The players in front of him were not exaggerating. The forces in the Rahu region know that your brother, Xingyao, is in the midst of a breakthrough. That's why they sent Jia and I to Beiki to kill Earth, one of the threat. Fortunately, there will be one less strong enemy when we officially start the war with you. This minced meat has explained everything. I didn't lie to you, Guyu said again. What's your purpose then? Huiyao was filled with grief and indignation. He raised his head and looked at Guyu. It's simple. I want 10 spiritual minds west of the barren grassland. Guyu stated his request calmly. You're courting death. Huiyao was furious. To Huiyao, Guyu's request was obviously taking advantage of the 9 luminaries' crisis to make a request that they would never agree to. It was equivalent to them ceding a part of the 9 luminaries' territory. How could he agree to it? Huiyao, you have to understand that you were the ones who invaded Beiki back then. You were also the ones who massacred a large number of the player clan. Therefore, I'm telling you very clearly that we, the player clan, are going to hit you when you're down and take advantage of your misfortune. If you don't agree, we, the player clan, will pay you back mercilessly after you start the war with the Rahu region. Guyu grinned, but his tone was very firm. At this moment, Huiyao could no longer contain the anger in his heart and was ready to attack. Great Lord! At this time, the guard commander beside Huiyao hurriedly stepped forward and stopped Huiyao. Get lost! Huiyao glared at the guard leader. Great Lord Huiyao, I think that you should inform the other great lords about this matter and discuss it together before making a decision. Discuss my ass. You want us to give up our territory? Dream on. Huiyao shoved the guard leader aside and swung his fist again. Old Eighth. At this moment, a dignified voice rang out in the hall. A figure suddenly appeared behind Huiyao and pressed down on his shoulder. Fourth brother, the player clan wants us to give up our territory. Why are you stopping me? Huiyao shouted angrily. The person who appeared behind Huiyao was the fourth brother of the 9 luminaries, Chen Yao. It's time to change your bad temper. I'll handle this matter. You go back and protect Big Brother. Chen Yao frowned and said. Fourth brother. All right, stop fooling around. I can handle this. Chen Yao said again. Huiyao snorted coldly at his fourth brother's request. He glared at Guyu fiercely before he turned around and left. After Huiyao left, Chen Yao turned around and looked at Guyu with a smile. I've heard everything that you've said. So, are your thoughts different from your brother's? Guyu asked with a smile as well. Of course it's different. It's just 10 spiritual or mining points. Our land of the 9 luminaries has a vast territory and abundant resources. We can still afford such a small amount of resources. Guyu and Sun Qi were astonished when they heard this. It's settled just like that? Chen Yao's attitude was unbelievable to Guyu and Sun Qi. Moreover, even if he really wanted to agree, shouldn't he bargain with them first? He's too straightforward. You're still the sensible one. Sun Qi couldn't help but say. Guyu glared at Sun Qi before he looked at Chen Yao and said, There are 10 spiritual or mining points to the west of the barren grasslands of Beiki. We don't want much. No problem. I'll order the troops to evacuate later. You can take over at any time. Chen Yao said without hesitation. Boss, are we asking for too little? How about we double it? I think there's still room for negotiation. Sun Qi couldn't help but mutter in the team chat. Why don't you double it? Guyu glared at Sun Qi before he looked at Chen Yao and said, Just say what you want. Chen Yao couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. Now that the 9 luminaries' army has evacuated from Beiki, the war in Beiki has also ended. But this is only temporary, isn't it? After taking a deep look at Guyu, Chen Yao continued. If the land of the 9 luminaries really starts a war with the Rahu land and we lose, who do you think their next target will be? Upon hearing this, Gu Yu already understood. Chen Yao wanted to drag the players into this mess and form an alliance with them to fight against the Rahuland. At this moment, Gu Yu grinned. Actually, you can say that. If the invasion of the Rahuland fails, who will be the next target of the land of the 9 luminaries in order to recover their strength? Chen Yao was stunned when he heard this. Just like what Gu Yu said, if the land of the 9 luminaries ends the crisis of the Rahuland's invasion, their next target would obviously be Beiki. Therefore, for the player clan, it didn't matter who won. They would still have to face the invasion of the next force. But in comparison, the Rahuland is a bigger threat to you than us. Isn't it obvious which choice you'll make? If you still don't trust us, why don't the player clan join the forces of the 9 luminaries? Chen Yao said with a serious expression. From Chen Yao's point of view, if they could rope in the players' strength at such a critical juncture, it would definitely be a great help to them. However, Chen Yao was obviously taking it for granted. Perhaps from Chen Yao's point of view, it was the best choice for the player clan to cooperate with them. However, from the players' point of view, they never had to make a choice. They were all adults, so naturally they wanted all of them. Even if the land of the 9 luminaries was conquered in the end, the player clan would still bear their fangs at the Rahuland even if the Rahuland didn't take the initiative to attack them. It was just that they had to go through a necessary process of accumulating strength. For the players of Battle Online, the footsteps of conquest would never stop. As the players got to know more about the underworld of the game, there were already 10 domains that they knew about. They were the 4 domains that the players existed in: the land of Beiki Chinese server, the land of Tsangshu European server, the land of Naraka South America, North America, and Oceania, and the land of Demonic Spine Asian server. There were also domains that the players had arrived at but had yet to set up camp in, namely the land of the 9 luminaries and the land of Ra. There were also a few domains that the players learned about from the skill source notes or the native. They were the land of 100 ghosts, the land of Chunyo, and the land of death, Western Underworld. At this stage, there were already 10 domains that the players knew about. According to Tong Gua and the other NPCs, they also knew that this was only a part of the underworld. They were currently in the Eastern Underworld, the Western Underworld that they had never set foot in, and the Underworld Sea World that was even more vast than the land. The world view of the entire game was immensely vast, and there were infinite possibilities waiting for them to explore. The players wanted to explore the mysteries of this world in order to obtain powerful strength. In order to obtain powerful strength, their footsteps of conquest could never stop. Therefore, in the eyes of the players, whether it was the unbeatable 9 luminaries brothers at this stage or the forces of the Rahuland that they knew very little about, they were merely a stop in their endless journey of conquest. Perhaps they would be defeated along the way and experience setbacks, but they would still stand up countless times, flatten the mountains in front of them, and cross over to welcome the challenge of the next peak. Therefore, the players had never felt that the 9 luminaries brothers were unreachable, and they would never wag their tails and beg for mercy to any forces that could crush the players. Even the players at the bottom of the ladder clearly knew that they were only at the beginning, not the end. There could only be one future for them, and that was to become the king of the underworld. This was the character of the players, with unlimited potential and fearlessness. At this moment, facing Chen Yao's solicitation, the weaker forces would definitely be overwhelmed by the favor and even moved to tears. However, the ones standing in front of him were the players. Even if they were weak, the player clan had the ambition to dominate the underworld. At this moment, Gu Yu could not help but laugh. After thinking for a while, he said with a serious face, "Actually, I have a suggestion. Do you want to hear it?" "Say it." Chen Yao was surprised as he looked at Gu Yu and asked, "You 9 luminaries brothers, lead all your military forces and pledge your soul to the player clan. From now on, the player clan will protect you." When Gu Yu said this, his expression was so serious that Chen Yao could not help but be stunned. After a while, Chen Yao could not help but laugh, but he did not get angry. Do you have the strength to do that? If the player clan still maintains this mentality, then you're not far from extinction. There was a guy who once said the same thing to us, but now he knows better than anyone else that the player clan cannot be provoked, let alone stopped. Gu Yu said with a serious face. Who? Chen Yao asked curiously. The Sea King. At the mention of the Sea King, the dog could not help but laugh. This leek was still growing strong and healthy. Forget it, I'm just saying. Don't take it seriously. This time, we only want 10 spiritual ore points. We will not participate in the battle between you and Rahu, but we hope that the land of the 9 luminaries can survive this battle. You hope that we can win? Chen Yao was very surprised. Yes, I mean it, because the ones who will end you will be us players. After saying this, Gu Yu and the dog looked at each other and smiled. To Chen Yao, these words seemed a little too absurd. It was like a kitten telling a ferocious tiger that she wanted to devour it. However, looking at the serious expression on Gu Yu's face, Chen Yao did not know why his heart throbbed. After Gu Yu and the dog left, Chen Yao was still stunned, and his expression was uncertain. Is he serious? Chapter 443. Rahu Region. Amidst the rolling mountains in the south, a silhouette was exploring and moving forward in the dense forest. Wiping the sweat off her forehead, Yi Sherwan strode to the mouth of the spring in front of her. She bent over and scooped up the spring water with both hands before drinking it. The reflection of the water reflected her appearance. She had clear and bright pupils, curved eyebrows, and long eyelashes that trembled slightly. Her fair and flawless skin was tinged with a faint blush. She looked beautiful and adorable. After quenching her thirst, Yi Sherwan stood up and glanced at the translucent map of the region on the upper right corner. Realizing that she had only explored 5.8% of the southern region of Rahu region, she could not help but clench her fist and told herself, "Keep it up." Apart from sightseeing, Yi Sherwan had other important things to do in the Rahu region. She was the exploration-type player that the players in the forum referred to. She did not like to fight and kill, but liked to wander around blindly and enjoy the beautiful sceneries of different regions. She came to Rahu region for 2 reasons. Firstly, she wanted to explore. Secondly, she had received an order from the Battle Official Forum to explore Rahu region. She would then post the map she explored on the forum for other players to view. According to the player who placed the order, it was called Scouting the Enemy and Understanding the Landscape of Rahu region in advance in preparation for a future war. This gave Yi Sherwan the illusion that she was like a scout who went to spy on the enemy before a war in ancient times. Unfortunately, the reward offered by the player was very high. Unable to resist the temptation of money, Yi Sherwan accepted the order without hesitation. However, it was not an easy task. Before she arrived at Rahu region, she had died several times on the way. This made Yi Sherwan realize that exploring was not an easy task. One must have enough strength to support it. Unfortunately, she was just a poor university student. Not only did she have no money to spend, she did not like to fight monsters. This caused her to level up very slowly, and she did not have soul coins to buy equipment. She could only live in the lowest level of the players. However, Yi Sherwan loved exploring from the bottom of her heart. Yi Sherwan, who studied history, was fascinated by the local customs and cultures of different regions. He even had the urge to write an encyclopedia about the conquest of the world's humanity. However, she did not have the money. The huge project was not something she could complete alone. Moreover, her method of exploration was vastly different from other players. Wealthy players bought wings in the shop to fly. There were even zombie wolves and other mounts that could be ridden. On the other hand, she could only use the teleportation array, the kind that she couldn't even bear to use. Hence, from Yi Sherwan's point of view, only players with money and power could go on an adventure. She was, at most, a poor one. She was even very frugal when it came to food. She always wanted to save up some soul coins to buy good equipment. It took Yi Sherwin 4 days to get there. He was afraid that he would be sent back to Baiki, so he could only proceed cautiously. This also caused her to slow down in exploring the map. However, since he had accepted this business, Yi Sherwin was already prepared to suffer. As long as he didn't die, he had to hold on no matter how poor he was. After encouraging himself, Yi Sherwin carried the travel bag he bought in the mall and set off again. The mission she had accepted on the forum this time was to explore the dense forest in the south of the Rahu land. This place was densely forested, and wild beasts, poisonous insects, and other creatures ran amok. Yi Sherwin had suffered a lot. Fortunately, Yi Sherwin did not encounter any strong and powerful wild monsters along the way. This made Yi Sherwin feel very fortunate. As long as she didn't die, nothing would be a problem. Yi Sherwin even felt a little happy when she thought of the reward after completing the mission. After walking along the pile of rocks in front of her for a distance, Yi Sherwin wiped the sweat off her forehead again. She found a huge rock and jumped on it. At this moment, her hunger was close to the red line, and her stomach had started to growl. She knew that it was time for her to eat, or else she would enter a weakened state. Thinking of this, she opened the game mall with a pained expression and clicked on the food category. Suddenly, countless delicacies came into view. There were all kinds of exotic delicacies, and Yi Sherwin subconsciously swallowed her saliva. However, these foods were not her goal. After she dejectedly entered the word dry bread in the search bar, the products suddenly changed to 3 different flavors of dry bread. Yi Sherwin's goal was to buy the cheapest of the 3 types of dry bread, and only one of them. Yes, I'm that poor, so poor that I feel justified. Everything is to save money for buying equipment. Saving makes me happy, and makes me happy. Yi Sherwin comforted herself. After the purchase, the dry bread suddenly appeared in the inventory. Yi Sherwin immediately took it out, then clicked on the game mall's food list again. She looked at the delicacies on the list and began to eat. In terms of quenching thirst by looking at plums, Yi Sherwin felt that she was quite talented, probably not much worse than Chow Chow at that time. At this moment, the taste of the food seemed to have changed, as if it was contaminated with the taste of the delicacies in the mall. In fact, it was not. In terms of self-deception, Yi Sherwin felt that her talent should be maxed out. With a sad mood, Yi Sherwin began to eat the dry bread and began to imagine that one day she would be rich, then by the wings of death in the mall, soar in the sky, embrace the blue sky and dance with the birds. Then, the fantasy in her mind turned into the scene of riding the white phantom spirit beast and galloping freely on the green grass full of flowers. Life is so king blissful. Apui. Just when Yi Sherwin was still immersed in her fantasy, a voice suddenly appeared in her ear. "Little girl, what's that in your hand?" Hearing the sudden voice, Yi Sherwin was shocked. She immediately stood up and got into a fighting stance. As an explorer, she naturally had to have the ability to protect herself in the wilderness, so Yi Sherwin specially learned some fighting skills from the official forum. Although she had not learned it at all, it was not wrong to put on a fighting stance to scare the opponent. What if the opponent was frightened and retreated without fighting? Thinking of this, Yi Sherwin could not help but lift her foot and stomp on the boulder under her. Then, she let out a ha, and her expression became extremely serious. The trick to scaring people was to overwhelm the opponent with momentum. This was what the experts in the forum said, and Yi Sherwin remembered it. "I just want to ask what's in your hand." The voice came again. "I'm very strong." Yi Sherwin frowned. Okay, you're very strong. Can you tell me what's in your hand?" The voice seemed very helpless and could only speak perfunctorily. Hearing this, Yi Sherwin could not help but walk to the edge of the boulder and looked toward the source of the voice. She immediately found that there was a person under the boulder, and only the person's head was above the ground. At this moment, his hair was disheveled, and his hair was covered with dried leaves and mud. He looked very miserable, as if he had been buried here for a period of time. At this moment, the person blew away the gray hair that blocked his vision, revealing a dark face. He looked at Yi Sherwan and said, "Little girl, come down and talk. Let's talk." Seeing that the person did not seem to be a threat, Yi Sherwan let down her guard and directly jumped down from the boulder. The moment she landed, Yi Sherwan, who did not stand properly, fell flat on her face. Seeing this scene, the man under the boulder had a shocked expression on his face. At this moment, he was very suspicious of where this little girl got the courage to come out alone. Realizing that her posture was indecent, Yi Sherwan hurriedly stood up and patted off the dirt on her body, an awkward expression on her face. "It's okay, I didn't see, Yi Sherwan. Did you ask about the bread in my hand?" At this moment, Yi Sherwan raised the bread in her hand and asked. "Yes, yes, yes." The man under the boulder suddenly had a look of surprise and then said, "Can you let me eat some?" Hearing that this person wanted to eat her dry bread, Yi Sherwan immediately took a step back vigilantly. "No, this is my lunch." Hearing this, a look of anxiety appeared on the man's face. "How about this, I will trade with you using the Azura Dao technique. Just give me some." "Azura Dao technique? How much is it worth?" Yi Sherwan asked curiously. "Not worth much," the man immediately replied. "Then I won't trade," Yi Sherwan said with a look of disdain. "You were born in the Luoho region, but you don't know about the Azura Dao?" The man was stunned. "I don't know, I only know about the Hell Dao. That thing is worth a lot of money," Yi Sherwan said as she took a bite of the dry bread. At this moment, the man suddenly felt a little incredulous. It was really a *King miracle that this little girl could grow so big. Chapter 444. Yi Sherwan calmly chewed on her dry bread as she looked at the man under the rock. Although the dry bread wasn't very tasty, Yi Sherwan felt that it was enough to fill her stomach. After all, she was a poor person, and poor people couldn't ask for too much. "Let me have a bite," the man said with a longing expression. "No," Yi Sherwan replied without hesitation. "Actually, my Tao of Azura isn't inferior to the Tao of Hell. As long as you master the power of the Tao of Azura, your future will be limitless." The man could only say this. "Really?" Yi Sherwan asked doubtfully. She suddenly remembered that she had the ability to analyze things. Let's see who the guy under the rock was. Thus, she immediately turned on the analysis function and looked at the man under the rock. Azura, 3rd level ancient god, character information, creator of the Rahu land, creator of the Tao of Azura, ancient god ranked on the underworld god list, master of the power of Azura laws. Suppressed by Emperor Feng Du in the mountains to the south of the Rahu land. Hope that he will repent and turn over a new leaf after thousands of years of suffering and escape from his inner demons. Character status: tasteless, cultivating, mountain seal, physical body is connected to the mountains and trapped here. As long as the mountains are not destroyed, the seal will not be broken. Yi Sherwan. Yi Sherwan shuddered subconsciously when she saw the analysis interface of the sloppy man. Gasp! She sucked in a breath of cold air. Sucking out the cold air of the Rahu land and warming it up, Azura? Yi Sherwan asked cautiously. "How do you know my name?" Azura's eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. Although he was sealed in the depths of the mountains, he had seen a few outsiders during this period, and those outsiders didn't associate him with the ancient god Azura. They all left in a hurry and didn't even want to talk to him. Thus, Azura found it unbelievable that Yi Sherwan would call out his name. After all, he had disappeared for millions of years. "How do you know my identity?" Azura asked again. He was sure that the little girl in front of him was in a completely clueless state before suddenly calling out his name. It was extremely strange. Yi Sherwan frowned slightly when she heard this. She thought for a moment and hesitated before saying, "I guessed." Azura. If he could break free from the seal, Azura really wanted to hit her hard on the head. Even ghosts might not believe these words. How could he, an ancient god, believe them? Speak the truth. Azura couldn't help but glare. Yi Sherwin couldn't help but stick out his tongue and say, "Pft, pft, I won't say it." The ability to analyze was a player's secret. Naturally, they couldn't just tell the natives in the game. Although she was just a player at the bottom of the sewer, Yi Sherwin still had this awareness. "Since you know I'm an Azura, how dare you speak to me like this?" The curious Azura glared at him. "You are already sealed. It's not like you can come out and hit me. What do I have to be afraid of?" Yi Sherwin said as he took a bite of the dry bread. He did not panic in the slightest. Azura. At this moment Azura felt extremely aggrieved. However, he was sealed here by the Emperor of Fengdu and couldn't escape at all. Just as the woman in front of him said, he really couldn't do anything to her. After taking a deep breath, Azura couldn't be bothered to stoop to her level. She immediately said, "Since you know my identity, are you willing to exchange the Azura Path technique for the food in your hand?" Upon hearing that, Yi Sherwin was stunned. She looked at the bread in her hand and then at Azura. She immediately had a conflicted expression on her face. Although she knew that the deal seemed to be profitable, Yi Sherwin felt that giving away a piece of bread was really a luxury after living in poverty for a long time. To be precise, it was half a piece. Besides, she couldn't guarantee if the person buried underground would keep his promise. After thinking about it, Yi Sherwin asked with a bitter expression, "Can we split the rest in half?" Hearing Yi Sherwin's words, Azura couldn't help but widen his eyes. It was his first time seeing such a stupid and stingy person. "Sure." Azura could only grit his teeth and agree. Upon hearing that, Yi Sherwin still had a reluctant expression on her face. She was very biased as she tore the bread in her hand into two pieces, one big and one small. She then said, "Here, we'll split it in half." With that, Yi Sherwin walked up to Azura and handed the piece of bread that was obviously much smaller to Azura. At that moment, Azura really had the urge to jump out of the seal and twist the woman's head off. "I'm Azura. Do you think I'm a beggar?" Looking at the resentful Azura, Yi Sherwin said with a pained expression, "Hurry up and eat it. I don't have hands. Give it to me." Azura said angrily, "You're so troublesome." Yi Sherwin couldn't help but pout and then extended her hand. At that moment, Yi Sherwin was very curious because Azura's analysis menu clearly stated that he had no taste. If that was the case, why was he still thinking about eating the bread? But soon, Yi Sherwin found out why. Just as she put her hand to Azura's mouth, Azura suddenly stretched its head out and bit her finger. Yi Sherwin was stunned for 3 seconds before she let out a scream. "You bit the wrong thing, you bit the wrong thing!" Azura ignored Yi Sherwin's scream and bit even harder. His teeth even sank into Yi Sherwin's flesh, causing her to bleed. At that moment, Azura's eyes were filled with excitement. This was because his goal was not to eat the bread in Yi Sherwin's hand, but to eat Yi Sherwin herself. Yi Sherwin, who was bitten in pain, was teary-eyed. She raised her fist and hammered Azura's head, but it obviously did not cause any damage. "Let go!" Yi Sherwin shouted again as she hammered Azura's head. At that moment, a smile appeared on Azura's face as he mumbled something. His dark face was soon covered with twisted purple runes. Moreover, these runes quickly followed Yi Sherwin's bitten finger and climbed up his body. At that moment Yi Sherwin's heart skipped a beat. She knew that she was done for. She was indeed too young to have trusted this great demon king so easily. She would probably have to return to Baiki now. Yi Sherwin felt very wronged at the thought of having to walk for another 4 days. She was weak, pitiful, and extremely poor. However, before she died, Yi Sherwin felt that there was one more thing that she had to do, and it was something that she had to do. Thinking of this, she quickly stuffed the bread in her other hand into her mouth and started wolfing it down. Even if she died, she would never waste it. Sob, 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 Yi Sherwin choked as she ate. She could not help but beat her chest hard. After she calmed down and swallowed the bread, Yi Sherwin could not help but show a trace of relief on her face. At least she ate the bread before she died. There was no waste, so it was not considered a loss. Yi Sherwin always felt that she was gifted in deceiving others and herself. Even if she was going to die, she had to come up with a reason to comfort her weak heart before she died. Taking another look at Azura and the purple runes crawling all over his body, Yi Sherwin sighed and sat on the ground. She hugged her knees with one hand and began to wait for death. After a while, death had yet to come, but Yi Sherwin was already a little impatient. This ancient god is not even as strong as a wild monster, yet it takes so much effort to kill a player, Yi Sherwin complained in her heart. At this moment, Azura suddenly opened her mouth and then raised her head excitedly to look at Yi Sherwin. Ha ha ha, I did it! Yi Sherwin was stunned on the spot for 2 seconds. Then, she hurriedly crawled back several meters with her hands and feet. Little girl, this is an opportunity that I gave you, and you are also an opportunity for me. There is no need to thank me, Azura said with a smile. Hearing this, Yi Sherwin did not reply. She decisively picked up a stone from the ground and threw it at Azura. Bam! The smile on Azura's face instantly froze. Bam! At this moment, Yi Sherwin threw another stone, which hit Azura's forehead. Seeing that Yi Sherwin still wanted to throw stones, Azura immediately said, Stop! Bam! Don't be so ungrateful! Bam! Let's talk! Bam! 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 What an unreasonable woman! Azura gave up on negotiating and looked at Yi Sherwin quietly, waiting for her attack to end. After a while, Yi Sherwin seemed to be a little tired and finally gave up on throwing stones. However, she still looked at Azura angrily. At this moment, Azura heaved a sigh of relief and immediately said, Listen to me. I don't want to listen, I don't want to listen, don't try to lie to me again. Afraid that she would be tricked again, Yi Sherwin decisively covered her ears and shouted while shaking her head. At this moment, Azura really wanted to break the seal and then twist off the top of the woman's head to see what was inside. At this moment, the strange and twisted purple runes on the surface of Yi Sherwin's body suddenly began to slowly enter her body. Then, a game notification appeared. Game notification: Congratulations on learning the Azura Realm's extreme skill, Azura Word. Server announcement: Congratulations to player Yi Sherwin for learning the Azura Realm's extreme skill, Azura Word. Azura Word, Extreme Curse Killing. Skill Introduction: The extreme curse killing technique of the Azura Realm. In the process of cultivating this technique, the cultivator will enter a state of tasteless and understand the true meaning of Azura Word. After learning this skill, any curse skill can be materialized on the target's body. Curse type ability. Skill growth proficiency. Level 1, 0/10,000 points. Next level unlocked ability. Azura Word curse effect increased by 1 stage. Highest effect at this stage is Ghost Commander Beginner. Method to increase proficiency. Cast the spell, Shura Word. Seeing that the Azura Word imprint had already entered Yi Sherwin's body, a smile appeared on Azura's face. Because this was exactly what he wanted. The Azura Realm's cultivation system that he had mastered was divided into 4 major systems: Physique Path, Killing Curse Path, Sacrifice Path, and Transformation Path. The cultivation process of each system required one to endure the pain of part of the body's functions being blocked. For example, tasteless, painless, soundless, and so on. This time, the Azura Word that he had imparted to Yi Sherwin was the strongest extreme skill in the Killing Curse Dao system. It had the powerful curse ability of tasteless. The reason why he imparted the Azura Word imprint that he had cultivated to Yi Sherwin was to break free from the Great Emperor's seal. At this moment, the tasteless state on his body had been removed, and he had successfully broken free from all the restrictions of the Azura Realm. At this moment, Azura was extremely excited, because he was about to break free from the seal, and he could finally start his plan again. At this moment, Yi Sherwin was in a daze. Server announcement skill. Omega, am I going to be rich? Chapter 445. The dark clouds have dispersed, and beautiful days are waving at me. Life is full of surprises. Yi Sherwin thought to herself with a joyful expression. This time, she did not look at Azura with such disdain. After all, she was going to be rich soon. She had to be more cultured. Little girl, try out the ability I gave you, Azura said with a smile. How do I use it? Yi Sherwin asked with an adorable expression. You can use it however you want. As long as you curse the target, it will appear, Azura replied. That's amazing. Yi Sherwin's eyes lit up. Of course, this is the power of Azura Extreme Tao, and it is also the most powerful curse technique. It is nothing ordinary, Azura said proudly. Yi Sherwin nodded solemnly, then looked at Azura and yelled, Become an idiot! Azura, as expected, her expectations of her were too high, huh? It doesn't work? Yi Sherwin asked with an adorable expression. I am a master of the laws of Azura, so it won't work on me. Try it on other creatures. Azura gritted her teeth as the veins on her forehead bulged. Oh, I got it, Yi Sherwin replied immediately. Then, she looked around and began to search for a target to curse on. At this time, a rabbit happened to leap over from the forest not far away. Yi Sherwin yelled at the rabbit without hesitation, Become a pig! Instantly, a purple Azura mark appeared on the rabbit's head. Then, the rabbit that had just leaped into the air turned into a fat pig in the air, and fell to the ground. At the same time, Yi Sherwin received a game notification. Game notification, used Azura word on target jungle rabbit. Spell automatically identified as transformation curse. Target jungle rabbit has been cursed. At this moment, the rabbit was clearly frightened by its own actions. It looked down at its front limbs, then turned to look at Yi Sherwin, who was not far away, and its expression became one of extreme horror. Hey hee hee! Yi Sherwin could not help but giggle at this scene. The rabbit was clearly frightened, and it immediately began to run away. Seeing this, Yi Sherwin stretched out her hand and pointed at the rabbit. Become an idiot! Game notification. Using Shura's word on target jungle rabbit, the spell automatically identified, consciousness shielding spell. Target jungle rabbit has been cursed. Rabbit, who had already turned into a pig, immediately went into a daze. Saliva even began to drip from the corners of his mouth. He looked incredibly silly and adorable. Wow! Seeing this scene, Yi Sherwin could not help but exclaim, Can I really do anything? Yi Sherwin quickly turned to look at Azura and asked, Of course you can. Anything you say will become a corresponding curse. Azura replied with a smile. Hearing this, Yi Sherwin turned around with a face full of anticipation and spoke to the pig-transformed rabbit again. Come on, let's go. You're poisoned. Game notification. Using Shura's word on target jungle rabbit, the spell automatically identified poison curse. Target jungle rabbit has been afflicted with a poison curse. After saying that, the Shura mark reappeared on rabbit's head. Then, his skin began to turn dark brown, and the blood vessels beneath his skin began to show. Cure the poison. Immediately, the dark brown color on the pig's body faded, and it returned to its pink color. You've grown old. Game notification. Use Shura's word on target jungle rabbit. The spell automatically identified the curse of aging. Target jungle rabbit has been afflicted with the curse of aging. You're on fire. Spontaneous combustion curse. You are sad. Emotion curse. You think you can fly? Delusion curse. You can't breathe. At this moment, Yi Sherwin was having a lot of fun. As for the rabbit that had turned into a pig, it fell to the ground with its last breath. Remove the curse. Yi Sherwin hurriedly shouted, seemingly realizing that the rabbit was about to die. Immediately, the pink pig turned back into a rabbit. This time, the rabbit's gaze towards Yi Sherwin was filled with rage. Then, it actually spoke in human language. Are you sick? If you want to kill me, then kill me. Why are you tormenting me? Yi Sherwan was dumbfounded when he saw a rabbit actually speaking. How can you speak? Yi Sherwan asked cautiously. Although I'm not strong, I've cultivated for hundreds of years. What's wrong with speaking? Rabbit seemed to have forgotten its fear and roared at Yi Sherwan angrily. Mr. Rabbit, I'm sorry. Yi Sherwan said pitifully. What do you mean sorry? Have you considered my feelings? I was born to hide everywhere so that I wouldn't be eaten. Finally, I've cultivated a little bit. Now that I've met such an evil fellow, it's not easy for me. As Rabbit spoke, tears suddenly welled up in its eyes. It continued to speak while wiping away its tears. These days were too tough. It was so king hard to be a rabbit. Yi Sherwan, Azura, Rabbit, don't say any more. I know I'm wrong. Yi Sherwan apologized sincerely. Compensation, 1 stalk of spiritual material, Rabbit said indignantly. Hearing that, Yi Sherwan's heart skipped a beat. In his mind, he quickly began to convert the value of the spiritual material. First, he eliminated the spiritual material of the highest level and chose the lowest level 1 spiritual material. Level 1 spiritual materials lowest price equals 63 soul coins. 63 soul coins equals 126 dry bread. 126 dry bread equals 42 days of food rations. Oh my God! Sigma, degree. Yi Sherwan's face was pale. She took a few steps back and wanted to say, talking about money hurts feelings. But looking at Rabbit's angry face, she suddenly found it hard to say that. At that moment, Yi Sherwan felt like her soul was being destroyed. After all, it was 63 soul coins, a huge sum of money. As an adventurer who did not like to fight monsters or carry bricks, 63 soul coins were her life. She could even lose her life, but 63 soul coins must not be lost. Thinking of this, Yi Sherwan fell into a dilemma. She definitely could not give him money, but Rabbit looked so pitiful. After struggling for a while, Yi Sherwan suddenly raised his head and said to Rabbit, "You've forgotten everything that just happened." Game notification, Shura spell was used on target Jungle Rabbit. The spell automatically identified amnesia curse. Target Jungle Rabbit has been affected by the amnesia curse. The Shura mark appeared on top of Rabbit's head again. Then, with a flash of purple light, the anger in Rabbit's eyes faded, and its expression became dull. After being in a daze for a while, Rabbit came back to its senses. When it saw Yi Sherwan standing in front of it, it immediately took a few steps back vigilantly. "Rabbit, did you forget something?" Yi Sherwan asked tentatively. "Coo-coo," Rabbit immediately replied. Yi Sherwan was speechless. "Can you talk?" "Coo-coo." As it spoke, Rabbit once again took a few steps back vigilantly, then turned around and ran. Looking at Rabbit running away, Yi Sherwan could not help but smile. Regardless of whether it could talk or not, it was good that it had been forgotten. It was good that it had been forgotten. He had saved 126 dry bread, and his life had become full and beautiful again. Letting out a long sigh, Yi Sherwan turned to look at Azura, only to find that Azura was looking at her as if she was an idiot. At this moment, Azura felt that he had given his inheritance to such an extremely stupid fellow. He had really fed it to the dogs. But there was no other way. He had been sealed here for too long. He really could not wait any longer. So, if he fed it to the dog, then so be it. Thinking of this, Azura suddenly felt a lot more comfortable. "Azura, do you have anything else?" Yi Sherwan asked tentatively. "Scram, don't let me see you again. Otherwise, when I come out, the first thing I'll do is strip your ability back," Azura said fiercely. Yi Sherwan stuck out his tongue, then turned around and strode toward the dense forest. With such a powerful ability, Yi Sherwan felt that he could soon reach the peak of life. That was great. After Yi Sherwan left, Azura's expression became extremely solemn again. He began to activate the power in his body to break the seal. The seal of Emperor Feng Du was connected to the surrounding mountains and the ground, so it would not be easy to break it. But for this moment, he had already prepared for it. Back then, Emperor Feng-du had said that he was too paranoid. The Azura Dao technique that he created was too extreme, causing his five senses to be blocked, and the inner demons in his heart became stronger and stronger. If this continued, sooner or later, he would not be able to sense anything, and he would not even be able to sense his own existence. He would completely lose himself. However, at that time, he did not care at all. In fact, he even wanted to achieve this goal. That was because he had a crazy idea and plan. That was to use the nothingness of his body to fuse with the six paths of reincarnation and become the controller of the six paths of reincarnation. Therefore, in order to wake him up, Emperor Feng-du had sealed him so that he could no longer continue cultivating. Unless he could regain his lost five senses and body functions, he would not be able to be free. Therefore, in order to break free from the seal, he had been continuously wearing down his Azura Dao mark for the past millions of years. And this last Azura word had been eliminated, which meant that he could already try to break free from the seal. With excitement, Azura began to mobilize the primordial power in his body. At that moment, the power that he could not mobilize returned again and filled his body, allowing Azura to experience the feeling of being powerful again. As the power in his body continued to rise, the ground shook. The chains that connected the mountains to his body began to break one by one. At that moment, Azura was extremely excited. Damn the Emperor, when I break free from the seal, I will continue to cultivate. When I master the six paths of reincarnation, I will make you kneel down and call me Daddy. Thinking of this, Azura was elated and could not help but laugh out loud. And the mountains also shook crazily in his laughter. At that moment, a brass bell suddenly appeared above Azura's head. Seeing this large bell, Azura's expression suddenly changed. Emperor Feng-du. Suppress. A distant sigh sounded. The brass bell immediately emitted a dazzling light and slowly pressed down on Azura's head. Ah, East Mountain old thief, I didn't provoke you. Why are you suppressing me? He had finally broken free from Emperor Feng-du's mountain seal and thought that he was finally free, but he did not expect that Emperor Feng-du would come and even want to seal him. At that moment, Azura's heart was filled with resentment. This seal is called the Heart Demon Seal. When you no longer have the thought of fusing with the six paths of reincarnation, this seal will naturally be removed. Emperor Feng-du's voice resounded in his mind. At that moment, the bell also descended and suppressed Azura once again. %yen at %. At that moment, all the curses in Azura's mind were unleashed.